Right. Thanks everybody for joining us. This is going to be our first session of our one-shot games, Tales from the High Marches. I am the Dungeon Master and host, Dan, and we have a little bit of a different cast with us tonight, so we'll go around and introduce everybody. Let's start with you, Max.
All right, now Max, I'm going to be playing Esteban, the half-orc, orc-blooded outsider who's joined this tribe of mishmash of races of Thyrs, and I'm playing as a barbarian tonight.
All right, thanks a lot. All right, Sam, who are you playing?
I'm Sam, and I'll be playing Conwy, the human fighter.
All right, and next we'll go down to Matt.
Matt, I am playing Immovable Rod Robson, a dwarf, courageous heart barbarian.
Excellent. We need intro music for you. You need like theme music and to come down a rampway.
Firework.
All right, Litsa.
I'm Litsa. I am playing Camelay, a empathy monk, orc-blooded member of the tribe.
All right, excellent. And lastly, but not leastly, Chris.
I'm Chris. I'm playing Grog. Grog is a Goliath fighter champion.
All right, thanks everybody. So yes, we have quite the mix going on here. All of these individuals, with the exception of Rob, all belong to one of the barbarian tribes of the High Marches. So these are all ostensibly human, but with varying degrees of ancestry related to the orcs and the giants. But nevertheless, this is their tribe. And as Esteban said, Esteban is the newcomer. So, starting us off with today's adventure. It has been 1 week since the matron of the Red Ravens, your tribe, sat across from your fire one evening and told you about her dreams, about the wishes that the ancestors had imposed onto her, and about the needs of the tribe. The humans of the so-called civilized lands of the South, and she said that with some disdain in her voice, encroached on the High Marches more and more every year. They built more settlements. They built more mines. They dug the very lifeblood of the earth. They chopped down the trees. They killed all the animals. They lured the youth off of the tribes away with promises of gold when they could, and they slaughtered those who they could not bribe. The ancestors showed your faces to her, to the matron, to the leader of your tribe, in her dreams, and they called on her to return to the old ways. You no longer followed the edicts of Varangost like your ancestors did, and it had left you weak. You forgot that you were inheritors of the ancient blood of the giants from the ages of myth. The shackles of civilization were made of gold, but they were shackles all the same. And so she called on you to do what no Red Raven had done for 10 generations, to venture north, deep past the Weir Mountains into the Varangian Highlands, home to the Thyrs, your distant kin, the closest to the giants of old, to seek out the fabled grazing grounds of the Yarnscrim, the beasts of iron and bone, and to go on the holy blood hunt. Fueled by the passions of the young, burning with the fire of glory, you set out northwards, but that was a week ago. The snows rage as you climb the treacherous, scalding pass. It is cold, and you are huddled in your furs. Now, let's see, to start us off, the magic die roll, we have Camelly. Several days ago, your band of youths who ventured north lost most of your provisions. Most of your food in the packs are gone. How did that happen?
We were crossing a particularly treacherous part of the land, and we're doing good. got a little cocky, and as we were telling each other about making wild promises and discussing which one of us was going to be the best for honor and glory, a couple of our group got knocked over an edge, and we managed to grab the ones that slipped or were pushed, but some of the paths fell down and we couldn't recover them.
All right. I like the idea that maybe some pushing was involved. Yeah. Who's the troublemaker of the group? Who did the pushing? We have a volunteer.
The healer.
All right. So Camille pushed someone. Who did Camille push?
Probably.
Oh, we've had a little bit of an audio problem there.
She's trying to toughen it up, you know? She's a little scrawny, and she's trying to... Sorry. I said probably Connery.
All right.
Dang it all. Do you hear me now?
Yes. So Connery. So you pushed Connery off.
Sorry.
All right. So Connery, you were pushed on the edge of one of these precipices. Who saved you?
Esteban was the one to come forward to pull me back over the edge.
All right. So Esteban, how did you save Connery?
I reached down with I grab a javelin out of my holster, and I reached down and just pierced through his cloak, and then just kind of lift him up like one of those hobo bags. And I just tilt it up so he slides right down, and I pull him in and just silently shake my head at Kamali.
I was having a little fun. Sorry.
In this together.
Oh yeah, we're all in this together.
All right, so Esteban managed to save Connery, but unfortunately, the vast majority of your rations were lost. The food packs and things like that just went spilling over the edge and into a deep crevasse. So none of you have any rations.
Oops.
Unless, of course, somebody was hiding some. And maybe we'll find out that later if someone was hiding some. All right. So several more days into your journey, you're still sort of climbing this scalding pass. The snow is swirling around you. It is quite cold. I would like everybody, with the exception of Grog, because he is adapted to cold, to give me a Constitution saving throw.
14.
Okay.
17.
Okay.
12.
And 12. Okay. So you're all doing okay. It's starting to wear down on you. Connery, you're finding like the cold, a little bit worse than your companions. You're a little bit scrawnier, and you definitely, out of all of your tribe, you lean a little bit further towards the direction of your human lineage. And so you're just finding it a little tough. You're bundled up in your furs, but you find yourself shivering and needing to sort of exert yourself extra hard to keep warm. In the distance, there is the snow is like kind of swirling, and you think you can see a stout shape in the middle of the pass, that there are several creatures that seem to be like dancing around him and sort of threatening him with spears. Rod, you find yourself having left sort of the last dwarven stronghold you were in, deep in the Weir Mountains. And you were originally going to head south, but you had sort of got blocked off with the snowstorm and had to sort of trudge your way kind of higher up in the pass looking for shelter. But you found all of a sudden these little creatures appeared out of the snow. They look almost like some sort of cat, but they're walking on their hind legs, and they're holding like stone-tipped spears that they are sort of like threatening you with. There's about 6 of them altogether.
So surrounded?
They're sort of like in a semicircle, like an arc, and you've got your back sort of to the rock wall of the pass.
Okay. So somebody wants a piece of Rod. Been many a day since I've had a worthy challenger, but 6 at a time is even a little much for me.
And they're sort of just like yipping, and sort of like waving their spears around, and sort of the one you take to be the leader sort of swaggers up a little bit and sort of has his staff that he's threatening, or his spear that he's threatening with you with, and he's like, "Give me all your money, punk! All your gold! You're a Greek
Joke's on
dwarf.
you!
You're just full of
I'm
gold.
totally broke."
You're a dwarf. You dwarves always have money. Greedy, digging in the earth."
Well, this dwarf hasn't been held up in a mine in a long time. You're going to be sorely mistaken if you think you're going to shake me down for any coin. He pulls out his makeshift, what's left of a little tree that has a rock kind of still clinging to the roots, and just starts smacking it in his hands. You think I'd fight with this if I had money?
And the guy's like, "I still don't believe you. Turn out your pockets."
I'm just going to swing at him.
All right, so you guys, as you're approaching, you kind of see like one of these little creatures like threatening this short, stocky individual who's like as wide as he is tall, basically. And you see him like pull out this, from the distance, and with the snow, looks like a club, and he's tapping it. And then you can see things kind of going downhill.
I see this guy getting ready to fight, and I like him.
Esteban unsheathes his greatsword and just looks at the rest and goes, "Found food," and goes running in.
Why can the new bloods never learn to temper themselves? I'm gonna draw an arrow and take an aim at the leader.
All right, so everybody roll me some initiative.
Ooh.
You can ask us in order, or do you want us just to shut him out?
No, I'll ask you.
Cool.
All right. Yeah. So let's go. Camille.
1.
1?
21.
21. Okay, that's much different. All right. Rod.
14. No, sorry, 13.
All right. Conry.
18.
All right. And Grog.
10.
10. All right. There is some snapping and popping coming from somebody. I don't know if they're doing something. All right. Esteban.
Hateful 8.
Hateful 8. Anyone not aware from our previous stream, there was a whole lot of 8s rolled. So hashtag Hateful 8 forever. All right. And get those at 15. All right. So Camille is going to be the first to go, basically, as she sort of sees Rod taking a swing. Actually, Rod, make your attack roll for your attack first.
22.
22 will hit. Yes.
So he screams, "Let me show you something. This is the Leaping New Mexico Dragon Sleeper."
He's like,
Gets a whole 5
I've never
points
heard of I've never heard of New Mexico. All right. Okay. Yeah. So your club like kind of smashes around. He kind of like gets like his spear up a little bit, but it's like cracked into him and staggers him back a step. All right. So that's sort of the surprise round. So now we'll go to Camille.
All right. She sees Esteban step forward, and she has a 40-foot speed, so she just happens to get there before him.
Okay.
And she's gonna try to sweep the feet out of one of them with her staff.
All right.
Attack. That is 19 to hit. Is that just I don't know what tripping is.
On
him. That'd be like a push.
Yeah. So you can. Yes, we did have a problem because apparently I still had you guys muted or something. All right. Sorry, those watching. Thanks for letting us know. That should now be fixed. Yeah. So, do you have a special ability that does a trip or?
Just one.
All right. So yeah, just go ahead and make a regular attack roll.
Okay, 19 to hit.
Okay. Yeah. So that hits.
And I'm gonna try to just sweep them prone onto the ground.
All right.
With my bonus action.
All right. Yep.
That's a 24 to hit.
Yes, absolutely.
For 6 damage.
Okay.
And then pop him in the face.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you kind of crack him in the ankles, and he kind of topples over. He doesn't go down, but he kind of stumbles a bit, and you get your arm into him and slam him in the face. All right, Connery.
I'm going to take aim at one of them and whisper under my breath, "Behave," and fire an arrow and use grasping arrow as I do so.
All right.
So that's 20 to hit.
Okay, so yeah, that definitely hits. And what do I have to do for the grasping arrow?
It takes an action to untangle itself from the brambles that form around it.
Okay. Does he get a saving throw though on it?
It doesn't look like it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hit and entangled by a swarm of poisonous brambles.
Okay. All right. So
taking 12 points of damage.
Okay, so he is down to and entangled. All right.
His speed is reduced by 10 feet.
Okay.
And it'll take 2d6 the first time it moves.
Okay. All right. I get it now. So yeah, I was thinking entangled, like it was imposing something like restrained, in which case it would have been a little odd for him to get a save.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I should have clarified.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. So the leader sort of turns around as he gets smacked around a little bit, and he's like, more reinforcements! Oh, sneaky dwarf! And then his form kind of shimmers and turns into this anthropomorphic raccoon sort of looking creature, still holding his spear, and 3 of the his compatriots kind of vanished. So there's actually only 3 of them there. And he sort of mutters a couple of words, and he is casting, let me get it up here. So he is casting Fairy Fire. And he is doing so on Rod because he's obsessed and thinks that this dwarf is the leader. So Rod, go ahead and make a dexterity save.
Hoorah, can leap out the way.
14.
14. Okay. And his spell save DC. 14. Okay, so yeah, you just managed to succeed. So you can see like this light sort of coming towards you, like it's going to hit you in the chest, and you kind of dump out of the way, and it smashes on the rock behind you.
Oh, no, you don't.
And so then he actually goes, "Cover me, guys! I'm getting out of here." And he seems to take the disengage action and like starts running away. And then the other two basically jump in, and you can see like the spears that they were holding seem to like kind of just disappear. And they both, one jumps at you and one jumps at Camille, sort of snarling with their teeth and claws. So on Rod, as he goes to claw at you, that's a dirty 20 to hit.
Yeah, that'll hit.
Okay, and it's 10 points of slashing damage as he, like, his sharp little claws just rake across you. And then it is a 26 to hit with his bite. And so that does 8. So he basically, like, claws and then, like, comes up onto you and is just, like, chomping down. Camille, that's a 19 with the claw.
Oh,
And similarly, a 24 with the bite. So that's a total of 18. So he just, like, gloms on.
Does my target take the damage?
Oh, yes, that's right. So it was one of those two. And how much does he take for the movement?
Takes 9 points of slashing damage.
9. Okay. All right. And then do the vines go away or do they stay? Is he still entangled?
It lasts for 1 minute or until they can pull themselves free.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, he seemed to like just ignore it, and then he's like climbing on. He like kind of realizes that he is still entangled, and the leader is just kind of like running away down the pass. Rod.
Oh, now you made me angry. So I am going to rage,
Okay.
and he's gonna hit the guy that just clawed him with an indecent Wisconsin cherry belly.
Which is a great club attack.
All right.
17.
17. That definitely hits.
10 damage total.
Okay. And yep, so this is like sort of the one that's like clawing onto you, and you know he kind of drops off a little bit, and then you swack him across the face with your club. Grog.
What is this wee trash panda? I will. Grog will run up and smack it with his battle axe.
Okay, so there's two. There's sort of one that's dancing around this dwarf. And then one that's dancing around your friend Camille.
I'll hit the one dancing around Camille.
Okay.
Hopefully hit. 19 plus 6, 25.
All right, that definitely hits.
Yay. For 3 plus 6, 9 damage.
9 damage. Okay. And Esteban.
Okay, seeing that everything else is handled, he's going to go after the runner. So,
Okay.
going to run just whip out the javelin and do the whole Olympic thing. Just as he runs, unleash it, and it's going to be a disadvantage of this one.
So what's your range before you hit disadvantage?
20.
20 feet.
Yeah.
He's running, but with your movement, yeah, I'd say he's always going to be just outside of that. So yeah,
Okay.
Disadvantage.
All right. So this is going to be plus 5 with the javelins. That's an 11 and an 18. So the lowest one I have is a 16.
So that does hit.
Excellent. So going with the javelin, and it's a 5 damage on him. And start seeing little spectral faces floating around him.
Okay. All right, so back to, and he's just, you hear like this little yell, and he's like, ah, ghosts, stop hunting me. And we go back to the top, and Camille.
She's going to try to whack at the one that just clawed her
Okay.
with her quarterstaff.
All right, excellent.
That would be 14 to hit.
That just misses.
Okay. And she's going to try. She is going to spend a key point to disengage
Okay.
and move back towards Connery.
All right. So you sort of extricate yourself and start backing off. Connery.
Fucking an arrow, I whisper. Behave, and cause the vines to wrap around the shaft, and will fire at the fleeing one.
Okay, excellent.
Using sharpshooter to do so as well.
Okay.
So that's 18 minus 13 plus 21.
21. Yep, that definitely hits.
That's a total of 18 points of damage.
Okay.
And once more, the brambles wrap around his form.
All right. Okay, so it's their turn.
Oh, sorry, it'd be 10 more damage on top of that, sorry, because of sharpshooter.
Okay. All right. So he like yells out and he's like, again, over our heads. What did I do? And he's just like, I didn't expect you guys. I was just trying to hold up the dwarf. He doesn't belong here. I'm okay with you guys though. It's cool. And he's like, he just puts up his hands, or like his little paws rather. And he's like, hey, you guys, it's all good. I don't want anything to do with this. I don't want to hurt you. And let's just call it square, okay?
Hungry.
Oh no, we don't make good eating at all.
So
All right.
We
Have you got any food we can eat besides you?
Any food? I might know of a place you can get some food.
Well,
Well,
how far?
not very. Just up this pass a little bit more. There's a cave, a nice warm cave. It's dry. There's no snow inside.
I'd kill you
insight.
Yep.
if there's traps.
A +1. I believe him fully.
He's just trying to be helpful. And he's like, I know that there's food there. Some people store some food there, in case for when they're traveling over. You guys know the Thyrs, right? Yeah, they put food there for when they're traveling over the mountains.
Would we know this?
Yeah,
a knowledge check, or you just know as a fact?
Well, I think you know that the Thyrs travel over the mountains, so I mean, them stashing food places would seem reasonable. I think. I don't know whether you would know that, but I think it would seem reasonable to you.
If he know, he probably already took food.
Maybe pretty little, maybe you don't need so much.
Grog is going to use intimidation,
Okay.
and he's 6'8", 315 pounds. So he rolled a 17 for intimidation.
Okay. So the little guy, he sort of, he just keeps his hands up and he goes, "Look, I'm telling the truth. There's food there." And like I said, I don't make good eating. I'm
No trap?
stringy, I'm skinny, no traps. I was just
Are
there.
we out of initiative order?
Well, I mean, if you can push it if you want to. This is they're not doing anything, and this is fairly long. But if you're
Rod
like stop talking,
If Rod had launched into a rage, I think he's probably going to keep smacking this guy. He's not listening to that.
yeah. So it wouldn't be the one talking. The one talking is sort of further
Yeah.
away, but there
Okay.
is still one of his compatriots there who
Yeah.
at this moment is not looking at you.
Oh yeah, he would definitely lay into him again.
All right, go ahead and make your attack roll with advantage.
12, 14.
So 14 misses.
All right.
Yeah, so you go to like swing, and for whatever reason, you sort of just like misjudged, and it's like you see your club go over his ears, and it just sort of like flutter with the hair, and then he like looks at you and goes, "Hey, man, that's not cool. We're trying to surrender here."
You laid into Rod, and you want me to stop now?
Could always eat the dwarf.
Hit him again.
All right, so is anyone else acting in their turn? We've got Grog up next.
Grog will interpose himself between the dwarf and the little trash panda.
Yep.
They will explain to him food. They're going to bring us food.
Or lead
I
us.
don't need food. I've got food. What I want is revenge.
He has food.
Look at him.
We need food. We don't want to eat them and the dwarf.
Dwarf tough.
That probably tastes like dirt.
Oh.
Raccoon, lead to food.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Lead to food.
Okay. All right. I'll lead the food. You okay there, dwarf? I mean, like, no hard feelings. I mean, I thought, dwarf, you'd have like pretty things.
I am a pretty thing. Just look at me.
And he's like, okay. Yeah. We'll call that one a victory. Just win-win all around.
Kamale.
More tricks, and I'm gonna pop your heads clean off your shoulders.
Kamale. Him next off cliff.
Okay.
Nice to see someone else dangled off the edge.
All right.
And I'm
All
going
right. All right.
cast a quick glare at Pamela.
Yep. So he like basically starts like marching off. He's like, "Come on, guys, we'll take him to the cave. This way. And starts leading you off. And it's about like 20 minutes or so trudging sort of through the snow. Every once in a while, one of these small creatures sort of like chitters and like pounces at one of its companions, and they go like tumbling through the snow, kind of fighting. And then they like pop up and like just pat each other on the back and brush off the snow, and then keep trudging. And they keep going until you get to a part where there's sort of an overhang on the rock, and you can see a cave entrance, and it does indeed appear to be dry.
I'm going to check the snow above and see if it looks like it's prone to collapse.
Okay. Give me a
wisdom.
Survival, yeah.
Don't have survival, but I've got a wisdom of +1, and I rolled a 17.
Okay.
So if it looks...
Yep. So you're taking a look at it. It doesn't look like it would collapse. There's sort of like a rock ledge, right? So the overhang is rock. So the snow on top of it. It looks like if it did slide off, it wouldn't, cover the entrance or anything.
Emily is going to walk right in.
All right.
She's tired, wants to rest.
Yeah, and it's totally like it's a sandy sort of floor to it. It seems a bit warmer, as you go in. Seems dry, seems like empty.
She's going to call back, it's nice in here.
I immediately follow in after her.
Say to the raccoon guy, "You're next."
All right. And he walks in.
Start poking around for some food. I feel kind of responsible, you know.
All right, so like as you start looking around, you can sort of quickly see that sort of the cave goes back fairly deep, and at the back you can see sort of some like leather wrapped bundles and stuff that have been sort of stacked neatly.
Start going through those.
Yeah, and you go like you pull them, and then you can see there's like dried meats and like dried fruit and like sort of traveling provisions that have been sort of bundled up there and stacked.
Does it look
What
like
kind of idiot comes up here in the mountains without food?
The kind that can hunt for food.
or the kind that decides to throw her ally off the edge?
It was a friendly push.
And
You'd have to get me first.
the little sort of raccoon creature speaks up and goes, look, my name is DeVito, and we like I said, what you guys do, your interactions with each other, that's your business, not mine. And now that I showed you where the food is, no harm, no foul, and me and my compatriots would like to vamoose.
Grog goes, no. We eat and then we go. Then you go.
Look, I don't want to sit around here while you eat. It's just weird. Like, I'm not hungry, and I'm just going to be sitting here watching you eat and stuff in your pie hole. And, I mean, that just really doesn't sound pleasant to me.
Or Grog make you pet.
Once we're done, we'll need a dessert.
Raccoon make terrible meal.
But fun pet. We get leash.
Another power flicker in Halifax. He's like, look, I don't take well to a leash. Also, I'll tell you right now, I cannot be housebroken. And, just not a good pet. And I'm way too stringy to eat.
Then wait till we eat or be pet.
All right.
At this point, Esteban's just grabbing the bare minimum of what he needs to be full for the day and packing up under his cloak with his 3 days of rations that he has tucked in under there.
Does it look like there's an old campfire pit or something?
No, it looks like not at least at the back of the cave, maybe at the front, but you there's no like natural ventilation or anything in the cave. So it looks like it was mostly just being used as a storehouse.
As our token human, you'd be the only one who can't see in here.
True. Yeah, that's true.
I can't see the Goliath.
Goliath doesn't have dark vision?
Nope.
Nope.
Oh.
Nope. The Thyrs in general, and the giant descendants. It's just you lucky orc-blooded, orc-born that are actually have dark vision.
Why does anyone make something that doesn't have dark vision? All right, so I get a torch out for the blind ones.
Yeah, it was still like there was some light filtering in like from outside. So.
They're cozy.
So, did you say there would be some like an old campfire pit at the front of the cave?
There might be. So you looked around initially. Make an investigation check.
Yep. 17.
17. Yeah, so you go like kicking around at the front, and you do see sort of the remnants of where someone might have put a fire. You find some like charred wood and some stones set in a circle.
Can I lean down and use Druidcraft to light a small campfire?
So there's a little bit of sort of burnt remnants of wood and charcoal, and you can start sort of a small fire. Druidcraft sort of gets it flickering a little bit, but it doesn't look like it would burn very long or very hot. There's no like fresh fuel.
Just using it to stop my hands from freezing over.
Yeah. So yeah, you get like a little one there, and you're sort of like doing that around the fire, and you've got a little bit there, so it's enough to help take the chill off a little bit.
I'll go out for some firewood.
So it's a mountain pass. So there's no, you go look around, there's no trees. You're kind of above the tree line at this point. And poking around in the cave, you didn't see any laid by. If there was, it may have been all used.
Wow.
So even though I didn't need bailing out, you guys did kind of come along and, maybe you helped. I didn't need it, but, you got in the way. So, if you need it, you could have one of these.
And he pulls out one of his, crappy wooden fence posts that he calls javelins.
It's basically just a sharpened stick.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that it's square too. It's not even round. It's not aerodynamic. It's just.
It's literally written down as a fence post that's been whittled on for 10 minutes.
But in the hands of someone who's improvised weapons, that thing would probably be useful.
I'll crack it into a couple pieces and try to put it up on the fire.
Yeah, so you add it to the little fire that's going, and it sort of roars up a little bit brighter, bigger. DeVito sort of speaks up, and he's like, "Look, if you guys are sitting around you're chewing the cud, chewing the fat, whatever you guys call it, can we just get out of here?"
Grog gets out some leather cord and starts to make a loop, and looks at him.
Grog don't need pets. Don't need extra.
I say we just let the vermin go. You have no use for him.
His voice annoying.
Hey man,
What if
your
vermin
voice
go
is
tell
annoying.
people we're here?
Oh, we won't tell anybody you're here. You can come and go. It's public land.
I don't care if they leave.
I walk over to the wall and just scrawl with a piece of chalk on it. A picture that looks like a castle with three bumps on the top and then a goat's head in it. Then walk over the door and go, "Ready to go."
Oh, fine. Let's go.
Did you lose power, Chris?
I did.
You're in a cave. It's very good. Good
Yeah.
role. I'm really
Thank you.
impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zoom mobile. Hopefully it doesn't use too much of your data.
Have we
Yeah.
packed up everything that we need to take?
So we hunt Yarn Scrim, not Raccoon Man.
Okay.
Yarn Scrim, you said.
Yes,
Are you on the Bloodhunt?
indeed.
What do you know of the Bloodhunt?
Why didn't you say so?
What would you know? You're not Thyrs.
Yeah, but we live here. I know things.
Oh,
We learn
you point
things. We
direction.
listen.
But do you drink and know things?
Sometimes, you find fermented fruit around, or someone drops a wine barrel, or,
Oh, yeah, right.
a whiskey bottle falls off the back of a cart,
Uh-huh.
or two or three,
Out to someone's pocket.
Yeah, we just take it, drink it, Obviously, it was just laying around. Someone wasn't using it, right? They didn't want it.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Again, what do you know of Yarn Scrim?
Oh, they're great big beasts. They live way far in the north on the frozen sands.
Why we waste time here?
No,
I'm looking at the others, not to him.
It's like, I don't know. You asked me, buddy. I thought you're just passing through.
All right. We'll just take the food and run.
Sounds good to me.
The sooner we can get moving, the better.
So, hey guys, not that I, need anywhere to go, but, so where you heading? You need any extra help? Maybe, because I am very capable.
Extra muscle always welcome. Just gonna slap him real hard on the back.
Oh, I can do that too.
And turns around, punches.
And these are friends.
Esteban's already packed and waiting by the entrance.
DeVito's like edging away.
Well, our friend is ready to go, I see.
If I ever see you again, I'm going to swing you around 3 times by your left toe until your head flies clean off and rolls down the mountain to the next village. And then I'm going to go there and I'm going to put it on a pike and I'm going to dance like a little girl around it.
Make an intimidation roll.
That whole time, Connery was just
22.
Connery was just giving Grog the just confused there the whole time, almost backing away slightly from him.
So DeVito's eyes just kind of go wider and wider as he's like, "Oh shit, I believe this crazy dwarf," and he's just like, "Hey man, you're clearly an exceptional specimen of a dwarf. You're not
Damn straight.
You're not a regular dwarf. I believe you. You know, DeVito's hard-earned respect. So, yeah, I'll not be seeing you."
Get lost.
And he like kind of scampers away.
All right. Camilla's gonna put her backpack full of all the rations, and follow Esteban.
All right.
Connery will trot behind Camille and just lean over and whisper, "Perhaps this time you can refrain from throwing me off the edge."
The friendly tap grows stronger.
Just pushes past her.
We have the dwarf if urge hits.
This is true.
Think. Who leads group?
Well, I think clearly the best interest of the party would be to put yours truly in charge. I mean, just look at me.
I have. Unimpressed.
Must bend over to look at you.
See, that's the problem with being tall. You're always just way up there. If you're down here, you actually see stuff.
Yes, you see my belly button.
I've seen better.
We should have asked Raccoon which way to Yarnsgrim. Do we have a map?
Well, you don't have a map. The notion of good cartography for this would be a little unusual. But you
Couple squiggly lines for mountains with an X above the mountains.
Yeah, you generally know where you're going.
Okay.
And it's like it's quite a long journey. You're actually going to be on the road for weeks, essentially, at least traveling across the Varangian Highlands. So you're crossing the Weir Mountains and then going north across the Varangian Highlands until you get to, indeed, what the DeVito referred to as the Frozen Sands or the Frozen Blood Sands, which are near the Iron Mountains, which are further sort of to the northeast. And they're not parallel to the Weir Mountains. They're like perpendicular. Rod, you would know that there are a couple of dwarven strongholds in the Iron Mountains. You may have been there. You may even come from one. The biggest of which is known as Baldersheim. And it's quite a prosperous, probably the most prosperous and one of the oldest of dwarf strongholds. But they kind of, unlike a lot of dwarves, they deal a lot with outsiders. And they actually even have a road that sort of goes through the Iron Mountains that they facilitate traffic through.
Well, I do know a place that we could head towards. They have been there before, and they've got no taste in wrestling or fighting or I mean, if they did, they wouldn't have kicked me out so fast. But, well, anyway, I can show you a way back there. And that's a way through the mountains.
Through mountains mean dwarves.
And you don't have to go through the mountains, but you're going the general direction of the Iron Mountains. So, Rod, since you've been there before, you know that the Blood Sands, as they're called by the Thyrs, is an area where rivers, like small streams that come down from the Iron Mountains, wash this iron sand out into these like floodplains, these alluvial floodplains, where it's like all this black sand that has a high iron content. And the yarn scrim, as they're called by the Thyrs and by people from the south, are these creatures that actually eat this sand, and they sort of magically incorporate it into their physiology. So they have scales and bones and horn that are all sort of naturally reinforced with this like biological iron.
The bottom line is Rod kind of knows where to take these guys.
Yeah, you've been through here before. You've traveled.
Okay.
Yeah, you know that. The relationship between the Thyrs and the dwarves can be a little testy and touchy at times. There's some old grudges and animosity, but by and large, you cooperate and do some travel and limited amount of trade.
You guys behave yourself. I think I can get you where you need to be, but you can't start any crap when we get there near my people.
This ends not well.
Rarely ends well when I'm involved, but that's neither here nor there.
You're good enough for me?
Anything that makes this trip sooner, that will be of benefit.
Dwarf, go first.
Of course.
Grog, go second. Pick up Dwarf if Dwarf misbehaved.
I've never misbehaved a day in my life. Everything I do is perfection.
Crickets.
If there was crickets.
Winter mountain crickets.
Rod doesn't need your agreement.
Need be, we just robbed Dwarf of food. Not said with Rod's hearing distance.
You're not those types that need like constant validation, are you? Because it's definitely not me. I just do my own thing. I don't care what people think of me. I mean, look at me. Do I look like I care what people think of me?
Intentionally not looking at him.
You look like Hairball.
I'll have you know I spend a great amount of time keeping this beard trimmed up and this hair nice and neat. I can't disappoint my fans when I roll into town.
Oh.
All right. So you guys set out on your way. Basically, later in this same day, you sort of crest the top of the pass and begin your descent down into the north, so beyond the Weir Mountains. And after a couple of days sort of descending the pass, you kind of, you hit the tree line again. And it's still, it's late in the year. It's sort of the equivalent of like November and near the end of such. So, and especially this far north, it's late fall and sort of starting to turn into winter. The Varangian Highlands on the other side is a rugged wilderness, even more rugged sort of than the high marches. There's a lot of deep valleys and, some high plateaus and things like that. And, quite thickly forested. Rivers, all that sort of thing. So as you descend sort of into the highlands, you know that you are entering the proper territory of your bloodkin, the Thyrs. So the giant descended much closer to the ancient giants than your tribes are, who lean sort of a little bit more human, but nevertheless you are related to them. All right. So, as you guys start traveling across the highlands, we will, let's see, get this. All right, Conry, give me something that, the seed of something that happens on your travels across the highlands.
So I'm drawing a bit of a blank right now. Sorry.
All right. So let's go with Max.
Are there
Esteban.
actual roads that lead through here?
Not really. I would say that there are some like cart paths. There is occasionally, even though the Thyrs don't really engage in commerce, it's sort of like culturally forbidden to them. There is some limited trade, barter base that happens. And of course, not everybody follows their basically religious tenets like they're supposed to. And that's true the further south you are. Kind of like, you guys. Basically, as you go further north, you're going to get to more hardline, fundamentalist types. So there's some cart paths. There are some traders that come through periodically and do some limited trade and commerce. But yeah, it would be cart paths would be as good as it gets. Not really any roads. Where you're going, You don't need no stinking roads.
So we find it very strange that as we're going off in the distance, just around the bend, we can start to see signs of looks like a rock slide, but there are 3 carts, one sticking out, one that's leaning over the edge, and looking kind of down from the angle we're at, we can see that there's one that has been knocked off the edge.
All right. So yeah, so you guys are approaching. This is kind of before you're still sort of in this could be either mountains or somewhere in one of the valleys.
I'm thinking kind of leading down into the valley.
Okay. Yeah, so you're descending down into the valley. This path is kind of twisting along this rock face. And yeah, there's like 2 smashed carts, one of which is leaning over the edge and one that's been knocked down kind of into the ravine beside it. So what are you guys going to do?
See, now, this is a classic mistake. These people put way too many rocks in their carts.
Are those dwarf carts, or do dwarves trade here?
You would know, Rod, that the dwarves more travel through. They do a little bit every once in a while with the Thyrs, but mostly would be, if it was dwarves, it would be people most likely traveling through.
Oh, more than likely it'd be travelers, but I guess we could dig around and see what's left here.
So Esteban looks over his shoulder, and there's nobody to his side, and just kind of whispers a question and then marches on.
All right. So like as you approach these carts and get close, you can see sort of under some of where the rocks have slid down, you can actually see an arm sticking out.
Approaching slowly, trying to see, is the arm, is it a bare hand, or is it like just in a glove and a coat sleeve?
Yeah, there's a coat sleeve and a glove, sort of dressed for the weather.
Okay. So I'm going to take a look up where the rock slide would have come from, see if I can spot anything.
Okay.
And nope, that's only a 7. So as I'm doing that, I'm also walking towards the pile with the arm sticking out of it, and just motioning for Kamale to follow, knowing she's the healer.
Not right now. Unless we're gonna take a short rest.
Oh no, you guys! This has been days now, so you're
okay.
Yeah, so you're all back.
Okay. Then.
Yeah.
I'll go up and look at it.
All right. So it seems clear from sort of sticking out that it's a human arm, and it's not moving at the moment. But but like you kind of like start pulling at it a little bit, and then you hear a sound from underneath the rocks.
Grog.
Grog will start tossing rocks off this person.
I'll start pulling rocks off too.
All right, give me some athletics.
Oh, amateurs! You need to see how a dwarf moves rocks.
As doing that, I'm stood kind of about 10 feet away with an arrow notch, just keeping my eye constantly scanning around us.
Okay.
Grog is going to say to the dwarf, "I don't want to hear about your bowel movements."
Oh, I haven't even begun with those. I got days of stories about bowel movements.
All right, so all of you guys that are throwing rocks, give me an athletics check. And because Rod's a dwarf, and you know a lot about rocks, you can do it with advantage.
I'm going to try and guide any way I can to keep like the stabilizing of the rocks, so like when I move one, it doesn't just fall in and crush the guy
All right.
further.
I got a 23.
All right.
17.
Okay.
17.
Yeah.
Kamale joining on that?
Camille?
I got a 7, so I probably stubbed my finger, and I was like, you can handle it.
Okay, and intelligence for Esteban.
Oh, great. That is -2.
Yeah, so because you're trying to like judge, right? So to make sure nothing shifts down and crushes them. So you're directing. Rod's basically just in there like, I know what I'm doing with rocks, and he's like throwing rocks off. You see him like lift rocks that are almost as big as he is and just kind of like chuck them. And Grog's shoveling rocks off. Esteban, you were sort of like thinking that something was going to shift the wrong way, and started yelling sort of weird conflicting directions at Camille, and it was sort of that like go left, no, and it's like your left, not her left, or her right, not their right. And she ended up like she got some rocks off, but then she had this big rock she was trying to lift, and she fell back with the rock on herself.
Of course. At least I hurt myself this time.
So Camille, you take 6 points of bludgeoning damage as you kind of like fall over then with like this rock like landing on you. And unfortunately it caused these other rocks to shift and sort of like landslide off. That's another 5 points. Yeah, so it's another 5 points of bludgeoning damage. And you are restrained as you are currently buried. But the human is currently uncovered.
Leave me here. I'll take a nap.
Rod hops down there to her and looked, and before he even starts moving something, he goes,
So you see what you did wrong there is you let the rocks move you. You're supposed to move the rocks.
That's good advice, dwarf.
All right.
Grog
I'll
is
help
gonna-
you out this time.
Probably just hearing Joe, just rocks falling. Conway just shouts over his shoulder, "What the fuck is going on?"
And Grog is going to yell down to Rod, "Could you help Camille get her rocks off?"
Oh dear. Yeah, and the human who was buried is kind of like shifting around a little bit, still kind of mostly unconscious and just like but you can see, so he's dressed in sort of like traveling furs, but everything looks pretty expensive. Like it's not that it's fancy, because it's totally appropriate for travel, but he's wearing like the upper end Patagonia of travel gear.
Grog will help him up.
He's kind of unconscious. You like lift him up, and he's just like.
Once Kamala is uncovered, she'll go over and touch him, and she's gonna heal him for 5 hit points, and you see her her cuts get a little deeper as she does it.
All right. Yeah, so yeah, your wounds sort of, it's like you're drawing on this pain. And you can see his like cuts and bruises like heal. And he pretty quickly comes around. Like he's got a few bruises and stuff left, but the worst of the damage is definitely has been healed. And he kind of like shakes his head and just like lifts up. No, what? And he blinks and sees all of you, and his eyes go kind of wide, and he's like, what, who are you? What happened?
I just healed you. You should pay me for that.
Of course, man always must pay his debts. And he starts like fumbling around, and he's like, and he's like patting at his side, and he's like, I fear that perhaps my money purse has gotten dislodged in this
I don't want money.
landslide.
What do I want your money for?
Well, would you take, as I said, a man must pay his debts. And he like pulls off one of his gloves, and he's like, here, this should do. And he like pulls off a gold ring and like hands and like reaches it over.
She'll take it and look at it. Thanks.
Yes, of course. As I said, it would not do to be indebted.
This guy seems cool. I'm glad I healed him.
What caused the rock slide?
I don't know. We were, and he's like, where's everybody else? There were 3 of us.
Only you now.
I'm gonna go up and scan the rocks and see if I can see any other limbs sticking out.
All right. Make an investigation check.
Can I give him a hand with that?
You can, which would give him advantage.
Thank you. Oh, that's better. Even with my -2, that's still gonna come to 17.
Okay. So you're sort of like hunting through where these, the rock slides and stuff have come down through. And you see, so you do find a purse, like a pouch, leather pouch. You find what appears to be a lower right leg that has sort of come off at the knee. And as you take like a glance over the side, you can see like probably what looks like 2 bodies down in the ravine that had just gotten like swept off with the rock slide.
Okay. I whisper to the invisible entity on my side and just ask, "They dead?" And
the voice whispers back, and it says, "Yes, they really
Thank
don't
you.
belong here."
So,
Esteban, what did you find?
dead. 2 dead.
Oh, those are my brothers.
Dangerous land.
Darren and Owen. My name's Torval.
Why are you here, Torval?
We were traveling through with some goods. We were hoping to do some trade with the dwarves in the Iron Mountains.
Dwarf. They close?
Are we close?
No, I mean, you said this was as you're sort of just descending down into the valleys.
Okay.
So if it's closer to when you just left the Weir Mountains, you still have like weeks ahead of you.
Okay.
Could I do an insight check?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. 18.
He seems like shook up, but he doesn't seem to like he's being deceptive.
Was part of our mission to find out the tactics of the more civilized folk?
No, not really. That's a longer term thing for Grog. But right now, this is more actually about reconnecting with your past. And the idea that the Bloodhunt forges you into like strong warriors like you're meant to be and sort of proves your worth. But that said, all of these traders from the south, this is like you got like these guys are causing you like this is your central conflict, right?
Yeah. You should not be here. This is not your land.
Oh, we do trade with the dwarves in the north.
And look where it gets you. Stick to the south.
Well, I thank you for your help, but the dwarves like our wine, and we like their iron. Their steel.
My friend. I step forward and like hold of her hand. Let me put this simply. Fuck off.
Make an intimidation check.
Just
with advantage. You've got like your bruiser friends helping.
I'm not trying to intimidate. I'm not trying to intimidate it. It's just like almost like no compassion that his brothers are dead. Just get out of here, type of thing.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to intimidate him.
Well, I still think that's sort of like you're trying to tell him to leave. Intimidate. It could be persuasion, but
on persuasion.
Well, let's see, 7 minus 3. So that's what I was trying to say. Conwy doesn't intimidate. He doesn't persuade. He doesn't deceive. He's just doesn't care.
It's more in this case. I want to see how he reacts to it, right, as opposed to necessarily your intention.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
yeah. I saw his like low charisma is just him not knowing how to interact with people.
Yeah, and I mean, you can also, in this case, if you're trying to be like sort of more physically imposing, you can make an intimidation check with strength.
Wouldn't help much.
That's true.
Intimidate through dexterity.
Intimidate through strength. That make it a 6 instead of 4.
Feats of archery. I'm always open to interpretation and off the wall, out of the box thinking.
Yeah. In that case, if I had a shot between his knees.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like if you're sort of like fuck off, and you're like pinging it, sort of like the dance, motherfucker, dance. Then go ahead and make a dexterity check with advantage because you've got your. Well, no, not with advantage because they can't really help you on this.
That second roll was worse anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's just straight dexterity would be 21.
Oh yeah, so you're like plinging the arrow in, and he's kind of just like, backing off. I'm gonna have to leave anyway. I can't carry on. But look, could you help me at least get one of these carts functional and my brother's so I can take them home?
Reasonable.
I
walk over.
No.
Sorry, go ahead.
I walk over and I hand him the coin sack I found.
Oh, thank you.
How do we feel about money and their currencies and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's totally up to that's totally up to you. This is like, imagine that your people and like sort of your extended clans and tribes, some of them are, being corrupted by the ways of the South. And so there's this tension between like the new ways and the old ways, and how you feel about it as a character is totally up to you.
Okay.
Why buy when you can earn?
Yeah. She's going to hand the ring back to them and say, this is your currency, not mine. But I appreciate the gesture.
We take wine if we find wine.
Yeah, we take wine.
Well, if any have survived, by all means, consider it yours.
So Rod slides over to him and goes, well, I got no problem taking currency. And I did move most of the rock. In fact, I had to move more rock when it all fell on her. So, any of that you feel like, throwing my way.
Well, like I've said before, a man is not a man if he is indebted. and I always pay my debts. And so he like reaches around and he puts the ring back on, but he opens the purse and like pulls out a stack of gold coins and hands it over.
Yeah, okay. I'll come talk to you again once we move some more rocks. I see there's still something in that bag, right? Let's see how much work it takes here.
Well, if you have an estimate for your hourly rate as a contractor.
Well, there's a contract. Oh, well, that changes things. Let's see. Period 3. Well, I don't know how much you got.
Make a. I'm torn whether you're trying to be persuasive or intimidating.
I think it's probably just. It's more like almost groveling. It's not even. It's intimidation. I guess persuasion
Okay,
more than anything.
Let's go with persuasion then.
Well, I got a 3, so.
And he's just like, well, I'm grateful, of course, but not that grateful or that stupid. I will have expenses on my way home.
So speaking of which, for the wagon is whichever one is the least buried and damaged.
Yeah, there was one sort of at the back that sort of had escaped the worst of the rock slide.
Okay. Any barrels or whatever of wine left in it?
Ooh, well, let's we got to leave that up to the dice. So let's have an investigation check for whoever's looking for the wine.
So rolling this dice is going to magically make wine appear.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of the Indian.
I'm sorry, guys. All the wine in the world is gone.
Well, that depends here. This is a little bit of a two-stager. So what was your check?
I rolled another natural one.
Oh, and you've got like minus something?
I got my intelligence is 7.
All right. So there's about a 1% chance that some wine survived. And on a 25 on the percentile dice, my friend, there is no wine to be had. You do find a barrel, and at first you think that you have struck the Holy Grail. It is like it appears intact. All the other wine barrels you have seen have been shards of wood. But as your hopes rise and you pick it up, it is too light. And you turn it over, and there is a hole. And most of it has drained out, although you hear a faint, small slosh. And you sort of peer into the wine barrel, and it appears that there is 1, perhaps 2 mouthfuls of wine.
I don't want Grog getting the jitters, so I'll take the barrel to Grog.
Yeah, Grog.
Pamela gonna
Grog.
All right, and Camille, what was that you're doing?
He's gonna try to head down for the bodies because he said he wanted his brothers back. Is there any way that I think I can get down there?
Oh yeah. Just give me an athletics check.
Do better. 21.
All right, yeah. You're just like you kind of just like swing over and like half slide down the ravine walls, and you're at the bottom. What's your strength?
18.
All right. You think you could probably drag both of these guys up?
I'm gonna try it.
All right, give me another athletics check.
Good to me, dice. 21 again.
Yeah, you sling some rope and like kind of haul them up, and you've got like one hand, and you're just like one-handing it up the ravine wall, and then like it's almost like strung trout on a line. Like you kind of just sling them off and like drop them on the road.
There you go.
No problem too big for muscles.
Yes.
Rod wants to dig through the rubble pile to find some things that might make good projectiles and or like a dagger.
All right, give me an investigation check.
9.
You're digging through. You find some rocks. You find like some fist-sized rocks.
Even rocks in the hands of this improvised killer can be a great weapon.
Could I dig through the wreckage as well, just looking for almost like a small chunk of wood, something that can be carved?
Okay. Yeah, give me an Well, that I think there's like 2 smashed carts, so
Fair enough.
yeah, you find some wood.
Yeah, I'll pocket a few chunks.
All right.
I want to start working on repairing one of these carts so we can get going.
Yeah, and it doesn't take much. There was one of them that was sort of barely damaged, so it's mostly like, pick it up and sort of turn it around. And again, you don't really have any trouble with that. And sort of like hammering a wheel sort of back into shape and things like that. But
So Rod goes, wait, I got this. I'll show you how it's done. I got the carpentry tools given to me by my grandpappy. I know totally how to do this.
all right, give me a carpenter's tools check. We'll go with we'll say dexterity.
15.
All right. You labor. It takes you a little while, but you pull out an adze and like start shimming away and getting like some of the wood shaved down to make it kind of straight again, and pop out a peg and sort of reset the wheel.
See, that's how it's done.
Meanwhile, like Camille had already had it sort of like turned around and like had just sort of like flexed and like pushed a bunch of it out, and the dwarf was sitting there like tink 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 tink. So you each did about 50% of the job.
And she'll load the bodies on, I guess.
Yeah. And so Torval then like sort of like picks up. This is like a carter's, like just a cart that you kind of pull yourself. Yeah, and he kind of like tips his hat and says, "Well, I owed you, although you refused payment, so I consider my debt done." And the dwarf, of course, accepted payment. And so no debt exists between us.
Avoid raccoons.
Yeah, debt for grog. Don't come back over these mountains, or grog push you off.
And he just picks up his cart and sort of trundles away, headed southwards and up into the mountains.
As he goes away, I spit on the floor and kind of mutter under my breath, "Southern scum."
Were there any do these carriages look like they would have been pulled by horses?
No, these were like carts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wheelbarrow kind of things.
Well, no, sort of a bit bigger than that. You'd sort of pull them behind you. So like imagine a little bit bigger than like a rickshaw, basically.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Let's carry on.
All right. So we will take, I think, a brief break here for anyone that needs to refresh drinks and that sort of thing. And we'll be back in a couple of minutes. So you guys continue on your journey through the Varangian Highlands, another, couple of weeks to your destination. The landscape stays, pretty much the same. It is rugged and wild. You occasionally see signs of Thyrs habitation, although you tend to sort of stay away from it. You know that the clans kind of organize around great halls, so they have their defined territories. They're not nomadic, but bands go out and live sort of semi-nomadic lifestyles and then, come back to the great hall when they
What's
feel
the
like
worst case scenario if we run into them?
So you're really not sure. You haven't really interacted with them a lot. You are kin, so it is basically if you do the proper things and invoke your kin ties properly, you should be okay. But there's always the possibility that you say or do something stupid.
We gag the dwarf if we meet Thyrs.
And Rod, you've traveled through here before, so again, you know that things are touchy. There's no guarantees, but you've traveled before. You've met Thyrs, and you haven't, you've been in a few situations that were a little touch and go. But
Sure.
You're not dead yet.
That's Rod's life.
All right, so you guys continue on northwards. So yes, several weeks go by, and all right. So this time it is Rod. What do we find?
So we come. So we're still kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, you're probably at this point. Let's say you're about halfway to 3/4 of the way through your journey.
So kind of inexplicably out in the middle of nowhere for reasons that will defy logic. There's what would effectively be like a big bulletin board. It's some wooden construction, and plastered all over it are various wanted posters for various bandits and things that have been holding up, kind of like highwaymen, things like that, have been holding up people traveling through this area. And down in the corner, one of them is a crudely drawn picture of Rod that's basically wanted for general rowdiness and lascivious behavior. And the reward is a whole sum of 1 gold piece.
Okay. So when you guys come across this bulletin board, and it's kind of divided into 2 sections. So it's like this crude sort of wooden board, and it has like, paper sheets, like, stuck to it, hammered in with nails and that sort of thing. I guess they're not paper. It's like some sort of thick, or like thin board material with like things drawn on it. And it's kind of in 2 sections. The upper part is all written in Giant, essentially, so written in Thyrs. So if there's any one of you that can read it.
Yep.
All right, excellent. So everybody but Rod can read that. And so that's what Rod referred to as banditry, except when you look at it, and so Rod was like, oh, yeah, bandits, yeah. And then you guys read it, and there's a lot of things warning about like dubious traders with a D, and like merchants that have been banned and like their privileges for traversing Thyrs territory revoked for things like corruption of youth and violations of the old ways. And mixed in among that, it's mostly sort of human names that you recognize, like Serration names, a lot of them, although some of them are sort of names more typical of the High Marches as well. Some of them look like they could be people who belong to similar tribes to you. And
how many Juras do we see?
No Juras. And there's a couple of Dwarven names on there too. And then the bottom section is written in Dwarvish. And that's the part where Rod's name was. And so those seems to be like postings from the Dwarven strongholds, like warning each other that are traversing through between the Weir Mountains and the Iron Mountains.
I want to study the top half. I don't read Dwarvish. I want to study the top half and try to maybe memorize some of the faces, if not names. Don't care about names, just faces.
Yeah, I mean the drawings are kind of crude, so you could almost apply them to anybody.
Fair. I see the guy we met. He mentioned his name. I don't know if I remember that.
Torval.
Okay.
You're scanning through and you don't see his name.
Okay. I guess I won't pencil it in, even though that would be fun.
What happened, Rod? Show your swans to someone wrong?
Schwanz. Whoa, that's a word I've not heard before. What's a schwanz?
Your Rod.
Ha.
I've shown all of Rod to lots of people.
As long as I do not end up in that number.
No, so I know what this is about. See, I was in the town, down the road here, and I was doing one of my, classic battle demonstrations out in town, and people were applauding, and people were lining up to take a shot at old Rod, and we were having a good time. Suddenly, there's this cry from down the street, and I went running into this building, and I knew I was going to have to save this woman that was screaming, and I came around the bend, and I knocked down that door, and I stormed up the stairs, and I knocked through another door, and I don't think she needed the kind of help I thought she needed. She was getting all the help she already needed. But the guy that was in the room with her kind of took offense to it and called the constable. And anyway, I had to get out of town pretty quick, and I guess they didn't forget my face from that one. But anyway, nobody needs to see this, so I'm going to try and tear it down.
You heard from end of street.
Yeah,
She was very vocal.
so you managed to pry it off pretty easy.
I'm just going to believe every word he says.
Yeah, must have been impressive, Rod.
Keep it signed, maybe you sell to somebody.
It is a good likeness. I'm kind of impressed.
All right, so you guys continue on your way, and you're traveling sort of another day.
That's what happened. We lose Chris, and it changes our.
Yeah, that is what it is. So Chris and Rod have changed locations.
Swap character sheets.
That's easy change. All right. So you guys continue down another day or so, and the cart path that you're following, you can see that there is some smoke in the distance rising from, presumably a wood fire of some kind. That this, like most of the ones you've seen so far, have been in the distance. This one is relatively close to the road. So you don't think, not road, sorry, like the path.
And poke Conrad and say, how sneaky are you? Want to sneak up and see?
I think you should know by now. I'm pretty damn sneaky. I'm going to stealth off and try and approach quietly.
Okay.
Give
me some stealth checks.
22.
Okay.
15.
All right. So you guys creep along the path and then kind of duck off it a little bit. And to get close. And you can see that there is a great hall built in a clearing near the side of the road, or the path, sorry. And you can see a number of individuals moving around the sort of grounds that surround the great hall. So there's just the one building. And I suppose there's a couple of outbuildings, barn type construction, and there's a number of individuals that are working, doing sort of various chores, and you quickly recognize that these are the Thyrs. So they're taller even than most of you. Sort of the closest in height to them would be Grog, would be quite similar in height, but they have this distinctive exaggerated build, so very triangular up top with overly broad shoulders, very narrow waists. They're muscled, but it's very lean and ropey sort of build. And their limbs, just as you look at it, it's in that uncanny valley because it's just a little off. Their limbs are sort of out of proportion, a little bit longer than what they should be in a human. And, it's pretty variable. Most of their skin tones range sort of grayish blue through grayish green. And you do see a few individuals with tusks of various sizes and prominence and that sort of thing as well.
Perhaps we should return to the group first before we rush in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're gonna head back. Oh, it's the Thyrs up ahead. We should say hi.
You have to walk past anyway. Grog, take point.
Rod, this is where you ran into trouble.
Maybe I should go around, or
he does have a disguise kit. How would that work?
So are you proficient in it?
I don't know. It's just one of the tools I was given.
Then probably.
I would assume so. It's in my list.
What's your background? Entertainer?
Yeah, entertainer.
Oh yeah, you're totally proficient. So yes, you could basically make a disguise kit. I mean, it's makeup, it's, false mustache. Like,
I think you should disguise as woman.
Oh, I'm too masculine for that. But I can, put on I could pull my beard apart a little bit, I guess. I could turn my tunic inside out so it's not quite so beautiful. And we'll just have to see. I guess if you guys keep them busy, I could try to slip past on the outside.
We'll rub some mud on your face.
I don't know. I'm pretty recognizable. It's hard to mistake this, even with some mud on the face.
Can I try and trip him?
can you try tripping him?
Oh yeah. Get the mud on his face.
All right. So usually pushing people over is an athletics check. But in this case, I think it's totally appropriate for a sneaky little acrobatics check.
Okay. 22.
Okay. And that's going to be opposed. Rod, your choice of athletics or acrobatics.
Totally athletics.
But I'm going to give you disadvantage because you're not paying attention at all.
Tied at 22.
Tied at 22. So I believe in this case, the 22, the tie goes to the person sort of being pushed, essentially. Is how it usually goes with grapples. So yeah, so Condry kind of comes up and hooks your foot and goes to sweep it out. But you sort of plant one of your massive tree trunk sized dwarf legs and manage to not get tripped.
Now that was just sneaky. I can handle this on my own. You don't need to be shoving me into the dirt.
Come on, you look good as an orc blooded.
I just turn away and start grumbling to myself, essentially.
So he'd use the disguise kit and he'd try some dark eyeliner and he runs some streaks through his hair because he thinks his hair is so perfect all the time. And he's if he messes it up, surely no one will recognize him. If it's... And he'll tie the beard in two pieces.
Oh, so just like dwarf woman then.
Well, dwarf women usually kind of braid it, when it's got ribbons. But these are ties. These are manly. These are keeping it at bay. These aren't ribbons.
Okay, I make up streak hair guy.
All right. Give me. Give me I'm going to say a charisma roll, but you get to add your proficiency bonus as well for your proficiency in the disguise kit.
11.
Okay. All right. So you've done yourself up.
Ugliest dwarf woman I ever seen.
Esteban's just gonna walk.
If we recognize him, then we don't know him.
No, I have idea. It hurts, but I have idea.
All right, so you guys start approaching the Great Hall. So this is one of the would be the very heart of a Thyrs clan, who presumably this is their territory.
How are we doing for rations at this point? It's been about like a half a month or more.
Yeah, I'm just I haven't made you do survival checks, but I'm just assuming if any of you are proficient in survival that you've been hunting and that sort of thing, and that there's plenty of game. Because this is more narrative driven than anything, so we don't need to make checks for everything. Although, I mean, there's always the chance that you're low.
Probably would be at this point, so we'd have a reason to just not walk past. You say it's a road, right? They're off the road, so we could just walk past and they'd probably let us go.
Well, I meet them though. Never met actual Thyrs. We are on a blood hunt.
True.
They have the information. They could give us advice, guidance.
If anyone notices dwarf, he owes us blood debt.
Okay.
Agreed.
You hear that, dwarf? You owe us.
Well, I think you owe me. I led you out of that mountain pass down
owe
here.
Us.
Yeah.
All right.
So no weapons in hand, just entering the camp.
Yeah, you'd sort of be going on this footpath, cart path that kind of goes by, and it's set back off of the road, probably on a little bit of a hill. But there's area that's been cleared around it as you approach, and you can see there's corrals where there's some cattle that look like pretty hardy, basically those Highland Scottish cattle, right? So they've got these big horns, and they're really shaggy coats, and they're kind of stocky and squat, but quite heavy. There's goats, chickens, that sort of thing. You can see some fruit trees. It'd probably just be apples and that sort of thing at this latitude. And there's some small scale, other, vegetables and things like that being grown as well. But what you notice is, and it's kind of similar to what you guys do, right? Where there's self-sufficiency, but you don't build these super elaborate, settlements. So there's small scale farming, but it's very integrated with the natural balance kind of around it. So, there's things planted underneath the trees that can grow underneath the trees. They don't clear big fields or anything like that. It's all quite balanced. And there's some of these Thyrs just working, chopping wood, that sort of thing. And one of the Thyrs sort of looks over and notices you guys passing on the road and sort of makes a bird call, sort of whistle and gestures, and sort of puts down his tools and sort of hustles towards you. You can see he's got a small axe hanging at his belt that could be used sort of for actually working with, a hatchet, but also looks sufficiently large where it could be used as a weapon. And a couple of the other Thyrs, two women, sort of look over as he calls. One of them also sort of just pulls an axe out that was sitting beside her, and one grabs a spear that was nearby, and they sort of just jog down to sort of meet you and kind of intercept you near the road. As they draw near, one of the women steps forward, and it's the one with the spear, and she's got sort of red hair that's done up in a crest that then it's shaved on the sides and a crest that then spills down part of her back. She's got green eyes, bluish gray skin, and she steps up and just sort of casually lowers the spear point down towards you guys. I'm Helga. What are you doing passing through here? Passing through our lands.
Sorry.
What?
Bloodhunt.
And so she gets almost a puzzled, sort of quizzical look on her face. You are from the southern tribes, no?
Yes.
We are hearts in our hearts.
Few of your number engage in the blood hunt.
First in long time.
What tribe do you hail from?
Red Ravens. Was that it?
Mhm.
Good.
Yeah, she looks back, sort of looks up at sort of appreciatively at you. You're, sort of a bit bigger. You don't have like the exaggerated sort of features that they do, but you're tall and kind of brawny. The Red Ravens. I remember this in the lists. Tell me, who sent you?
Our tribe leader, the wise woman from the tribe. She had a vision.
This is good. The ancestors spoke to her. Tell me, what do you know of the blood hunt?
We hunt the Iron Scrim. We know it is quite a way to the frozen sands. Beyond that, we are told, find, hunt, survive, and find answers. But I do not understand the questions.
What do you seek here?
Be recognized in the eyes of the ancestors.
This is good to pay respect to one's ancestors. And what do you seek? What do each of you seek?
To learn the old ways, to make us strong again.
This is also good. The old ways do keep us strong. We must be like the oak tree, firmly rooted in the soil. We bend a little, but we do not break. And it is our deep roots, even in rocky land, that keeps us anchored. And the rest of you,
I seek a sign that it is time to go seeking answers elsewhere. I am here to help my adopted tribe. I'm here to understand my ancestors. I already see them when I close my eyes, but there is one I do not see yet. And I wish to find out why I do not see him, for he is dead. Or so I was told.
she sort of looks quizzically at you. These sorts of answers perhaps you can find sooner than all the way on a blood hunt.
It is also about honor.
This is also good. Honor holds us together. It keeps us proper. And although we may strive against one another, in the end we are still one people. You, big one. Well, only big by comparison. She's slightly taller than you are. What do you seek?
I seek knowledge. Knowledge so that we can learn to not be corrupted by the Southerners who are corrupting our youth.
And she kind of leans over and spits. Yes, these Southern swine. Even here, they find their ways. We let them travel through unmolested when they are doing business with the dwarves in the north. But they always try to tempt away our youth, to serve them, to bend their might, to shackle them with their golden promises. And she finally looks over at Rod. Make Make a stealth check, but charisma.
5. I'm just a elf or just a dwarven woman trying to bringing me back home.
So she looks over. Make an intelligence check.
4.
Oh my.
So she just goes, "So, dwarf, I have 2 questions. The first we will get out of the way to make sure that we don't just have to have you killed. But the Bloodhunt is a sacred thing, not meant generally for outsiders. Why do you bring a dwarf, who I'm assuming, unless he is an adopted member, why do you bring a dwarf on your Bloodhunt?"
We are strangers in this area. He is not. He knows the paths. He owes us a blood debt.
Is this true, dwarf?
Yes, told get blood debt.
Then, a blood debt is something that should be honored. This we find acceptable. Now, my second question. Rod, as you call yourself when you passed through here last. Do you not recognize me with my clothes on?
Oh my god.
Truth be told, no, I didn't. So, sorry about that. I heard screaming. I mean, I'm a heroic guy. I thought I was going to save a damsel. You can't hurt a guy for trying to help a damsel.
A damsel. I saw the way that Ingi manhandled you in the common room of the great house. You know as well as I that none of us are damsels in distress. Although I thought it was perhaps you that needed rescuing that night.
Oh, Rod never needs rescuing. Rod always has a way out.
Well, nevertheless, there is a debt of honor to be paid.
Oh, just racking up debts all over the place. So, what do you want?
Well, you barged in on me and saw me unclothed. I think it is only fair that we should all see you unclothed.
Oh, that all? I'd do that for free. Heck, sure, why not?
He just drops trowel.
Take it all in.
Esteban walks over to the nearest goat pile of crap, picks it up, and hucks it at him.
And yeah, she just laughs and she says, "Come, you will stay with us in the Great Hall tonight. You can sleep, refresh yourself, ask what questions you may. You," and she looks over at Rod, "you're welcome in the Great Hall. Although you, I think, shall have to sleep with the dogs tonight.
Oh, it might be better company anyway.
For none of the women here will keep you company."
You're all too big. I prefer shorter women anyway.
There is a reason that we get along with the dwarves more so than even some of our kin. Some of them, like this one, are amusing, particularly when they are drunk. They get quite red, did you know?
It has been quite a dry journey.
Well, we have mead, we have beer that we make ourselves, a little wine. None of that fancy stuff from the south. What we can make ourselves is what we have.
Grog is going to say to the rest of the group, I think when his mother named him Rod, it was a joke.
And you hear Helga bark out a pretty sharp laugh, and she's like, You're telling me it is less than a baby.
I'm a grower, not a shower.
All right, Rod, put your clothes back on. No one needs further embarrassment.
That whole time, Conry was just off to one side, just head in hands, essentially.
When
I
he
played my music for you last time I was here. I've been mastering my craft. I could play for the hall tonight.
He pulls out these two out of his bag. He pulls out these two great big cymbals.
Rod is here! Rod is here! Come celebrate!
And you can
I
see her
immediately
just
notch an arrow.
and she just kind of like shakes her head and she says, "Normally, we like the gift of music, but that is not music."
I notch an arrow and point it in Bod's direction. Please hold with that terrible noise.
Ugh, nothing but critics.
All right, so she turns and like sort of heads up to the great hall, and leads you in. Just check this. So she leads you in, and it's a relatively good-sized building. As she leads you in, it's pretty clear it's basically one, just giant space on the inside. There's a wall at the back that maybe goes into, some private chambers and things like that. But by and large, you can see there's like long tables and things set up. There's piles of fur like all around. And basically like people just, sleep in the Great Hall, right? So, except perhaps the matriarch, who will, sort of sleep maybe in the back in private room of some kind. And there's like a large hearth. Most of the cooking and that sort of thing would be done all just out in the general area. So at the back of the Great Hall, there's like a small little bit of platform, and there's a chair that sits on it, with like a bit of a table set up in front of it. And there is a old woman seated on it. Old, sort of like the matron of your clan, of your tribe. And she's sort of like bent forward. She's got like one arm resting on the armrest of the chair, and her other arm, or her other hand rather, is like wrapped around the grip of a large sword that is like leaning up against the chair. And like her hand looks like relatively like frail wrapped around it, and it is like a two-handed sword. Single-edged, a very slight curve to it. And she leans forward and sort of beckons with one hand. Come. I am Luta, matriarch of this clan. We are the Black River clan. It has been a long time since any of our kin from the south have been here.
Yes, we were not given much information on where to proceed.
Oh, well, when all roads lead north, it is hard to miss the grazing grounds. My granddaughter, and she mentions over at Helga, who had come and sort of like whispered in her ear a bit as you guys entered, tells me that you are enacting the Bloodhunt.
Yes.
Occasionally, one of our southern kin comes. Some, those who live in the north of what you call the high marches, come through more regularly and stay to the old ways. But it has been some time since any have passed through here on this particular route.
What was the last tribe?
On this route, well, perhaps, let me think. There was the Swift Turtle tribe. I think they sent some of their youth, perhaps 30 years ago.
And did they come back through?
Some did, not all.
How many came? How many went?
I believe 6 of their number went through, 3 came back.
There is no honor without danger.
Exactly. They were laden with the glory. They brought what they needed back to their people to complete their rites.
What is needed to bring back?
We harvest what we can from the beasts of iron and bone. They provide us tools. We make weapons. We make armor. And she, like, sort of, you kind of, like, take a sort of second look at the sword blade as she mentions it. And the blade is this, like, it's actually like a black color. And when you take a close look at it, you can see that it's not like a normal steel blade. It appears like it was more carved than forged, although the edge comes to like a fine hone. So it looks sort of like half carved, half, partially forged on the edges. And you're like the back of the spine of the blade has an appearance almost more like bone, but like very hard. Rob, you've probably heard a little bit more about these weapons. The dwarves kind of know of them. You don't know how they're made. You would kind of like to know, because it's a secret about forging and weapon craft that the dwarves do not know.
Has that ever slain one of the Yarnscrim?
Oh, well, this I forged after I slayed my Yarnscrim during my Bloodhunt. This was made from his forelimbs.
How long has it been since a materialist such as come through here?
Well, our people do this every year. Our new youth who must undertake the rite of passage always do this. This is our way of life. This is the old way.
Do have any intact so that we may see what we are up against. These are not something we have in our village.
Do we have any of the Yarnscrim attacked?
The Yarnscrim, yes, or pieces, so we may, or drawings. We were given very little information. I think that was part of the test.
Well, or just lack of knowledge. The Yarnscrim are great beasts. They live on 4 legs. They are not predators, but they consume the black sand. This black sand is then somehow makes their bone, their hide strong as it incorporates the iron. Their horns as well, their fangs. But they are great beasts, very strong, stronger than the strongest among us. While they do not crave meat, they do have dangerous tusks and horns. And they are easily enraged and relatively intelligent for a beast.
I've been called the same thing.
Do they roam in packs or individually?
They move in great herds. They migrate. This time of year is when they gather at the Black Sands in order to eat it. They only gather here once a year.
So Grog says we are looking for something that looks like this.
It is close enough.
Ah. Right. I will now know it when I see it.
It is definitely impossible to miss. Their hide is scaled, and she gestures over Helga. Get out the corselet. Show them my hauberk. And some have these, although not everyone. And she kind of opens, Helga goes to a chest and kind of opens it and sort of like heaves out this, it's basically like scale mail. And she pulls out this like, it appears like it's leather or hide, but it has these black metal discs covering it. And it looks like iron. But when you look closer at them, you can tell it is overlapping scales. The hide of the beasts is a natural armor. This is what we use to make our heavier scale mail, as they would call it in the south. And she kind of like spits to the side.
If they are so strong, how can we hope to beat them?
We must be as the wolves. Find one to draw away from the herd.
Quite often it is hard to separate one individual. Splitting off a pair is a little bit more reasonable. Usually a bonded pair of mates. When a tribe of youth is sent, no more than 2 should they take. These animals are sacred. Without them, we would not have this steel. Without in resorting to the types of things that they do in the south, which we will not do.
How do they interact with other animals, or are there any other animals in the sands?
Well, of course, many normal wildlife, but they are dominant. Few predators other than us. Our legends say that they were actually created in the ages of myth, during the wars, when our ancestors were less enlightened. Our ancestors lived in civilization and made them as beasts in their war. But that was long ago.
No. Would Esteban know if it's rude for him to, or is there a gesture for him to kind of pardon himself to walk away?
Yeah, I mean, they're not like super formal.
Okay. He just took in a lot of information and needs time to process. So he's going to just step to the back of the party.
So, unless you have
Sounds
more
like,
questions.
You guys got your work cut out for you. I'm going to go have a drink.
Yes, by all means. Helga, have them bring out the food. Call in the others. And sort of activity starts happening. And people start bringing out like food and things like that to the tables. There's like some casks of ale and mead and things like that that are like cracked open that people start drinking out of drinking horns. And so there's a lot of like there's cream and butter. There's a lot of meat. There's some fruit. There's some like root vegetables and things like that. Some hearty stews. There is no bread.
No grains.
Yeah. Well, there's a few grains. There's some wild grains that they harvest, but it's all
Like
in
beer.
like a porridge and in the beer. Yeah.
Mm.
Nothing left over for bread.
Caroline will ask, is it customary to celebrate while in the blood hunt? Does not take away from the honor.
There are many traditions. Some clans have their own. For you, I think the blood hunt on its own is enough. Our people, yes, there are many traditions of sneaking through the territory of other clans, pulling little tricks, not getting caught. But in general, while clans may war with one another and raid, normally the blood hunt is sacred, and we do not interfere with the journeys of others on their blood hunt.
We appreciate your guidance.
Indeed, it is the youth sometimes traveling through on their blood hunts that offer the most exchange between clans, as they visit other great houses, exchange news. Sometimes they come back and they choose to stay in one of these clans as opposed to their original.
I think our clan could learn a lot from yours. I'm glad we met.
It is good to stick to the old ways. The old ways are best.
That is what we believe. That is what we try to get back to now.
And like people start coming in, like putting down tools and weapons and like sitting at the tables and starting to eat. You know, people are talking to you. They're exchanging pretty freely. Everyone seems quite accommodating, shall we say.
Rod drinks himself stupid.
Like many of the Thyrs women are like poking all kinds of fun at Rod.
Yeah. You mean more stupid?
Yeah, Rod is the butt of many jokes.
So Esteban will seek out Helga.
Yep.
Now, goes up. Pardon.
Yes.
I know not much of this land. Do tribes in this region ever deal with the humans from Odinkeep? Deal with as in combat?
Well, clans, first of all. We are clans.
The clans. I'm sorry, I am...
Oh, it is okay. I am correcting you. I am not angry. That is all the way that you learn. Now, as for dealings in the south, occasionally we send people to the south to help some of our allied clans, to help some of your tribes. Whether any have specifically dealt, I am sorry, but the names of some of the human settlements are of little interest to me. One great stone building is as good as another as far as I'm concerned, and none of them do I want to stay in.
Okay. I am just looking for information. 2 years ago, a warband from the southern people, not of the tribes or clans, were in this area, or I do not know what area, but I'm just looking for a name of stronghold.
Well, I do not know any of this personally. I would suspect that any of these humans as a warband would not have gotten this far north. Very rarely do they ever even cross the mountains. Usually they're just dealing and worrying and thinking that the land south of there is all theirs. However, if you wish, the matriarch is skilled as an oracle. She has been known to do readings. to contact the ancestors and ask them for guidance. If you wish it, I think she would maybe bless this upon you.
It is of interest. Is there a way I should ask respectfully?
Nah. Come.
Okay. And he follows.
Yep. And so she approaches the matriarch and sort of bends and whispers in her ear. And the older woman sort of like nods. Come. We will go somewhere a little more quiet. And I will do this for you.
Okay. He nods. I thank you. Calls in, kind of turns to see if anyone else, just to see if anyone's paying attention, just to see that he's going somewhere. And then he'll follow if everyone seems to be okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So she leads you, kind of like pushes through. It's not like there's like a doorway, but it just has sort of some like not curtains, but like some furs kind of hanging down to offer some privacy. And she
Make sure there's no one naked back there.
Could
I'm sure you would hear it.
and
could Conry have followed?
you
Sorry.
certainly could try. There would be almost no way to necessarily do it unnoticed.
Oh yeah, I don't want to sneak in. I want him to approach and kind of ask to observe,
Mm-hmm.
and if possible, just follow and see what happens.
May a member of my tribe come with?
That is up to you.
Okay. I would like to have at least one, just in case anything becomes strange.
When the spirits and the ancestors are involved, everything becomes strange.
Can you see him? And he looks over his left shoulder.
She narrows her eyes a little bit, and you can see they sort of gloss over and go white. I do now.
He is my grandfather, who I never met, but upon seeking the path of my tribe, I began to become more in tune with my ancestors. But my father, who is dead, is not there. So I just wish to know if he is in the Great Halls or if he is perhaps in a place he cannot come back from.
Well, let us find out. And she moves over sort of to an area where there's like a small little hearth, like sort of a private hearth set open. And there's some like fur spread out on the ground. She kind of lowers herself, semi-arthritically down to the ground and sort of crosses her legs as best as she can on one side and sort of gestures for you guys to sit.
Okay. He sits cross-legged, very similar.
And she just like unties this bag from her belt and sort of like shakes it, and you can hear like the clatter of these like stones and tiles. And she like kind of plops it down beside her and then like moves it so it's like sitting sort of in between and opens it. And you can see her eyes are still sort of clouded over and white. And she gestures at one and says, "Please, begin the first pull."
Okay. So he reaches in and takes one?
Yep. So it's like a small like stone that's been carved square.
Okay. Like little rune stones, nern stones?
Sort of, yep.
All right.
Place in the middle.
Okay, and he places it.
All right. So you sit it down, and basically, like, she'd got you to kind of draw it and like keep it close so you're not looking at it, and then place it down in its like natural orientation.
Okay.
And it's a carving of a tree. And it is, she gestures and says, "Have you ever had the tiles read before?"
This is new.
"The field orients towards me." And so you've sitting it down, and the tree is facing you. So like the roots are facing you, and the crown of the tree is facing her. The world tree, although it is played inverted. This is an ominous thing. Somehow this tree is at the crux of it all. Now, and she reaches in and kind of like roots around a bit and pulls out, and this is like a piece of bone as she lays it down, sort of similarly carved into a bit of a square, and she lays it sort of on the opposite side of the centerpiece that you just played on the tree. So it's between you and the tree. And she sits it down and then removes her hand. And it is a carving of a raven. And it's also inverted, so it's facing you. Interesting. The raven is a harbinger of death. But in this case, it is inverted. Death subverted, avoided, close, and clinging still to everything. But averted at least for the moment. And she reaches around and like pulls out another tile. And she sits it down sort of between her and where the tiles have been laid out. And pulls her hands off. It's a bit of carved stone, and there's a stag head on it. But it's facing her, so it's the proper orientation. Interesting. The huntsman is involved. Somehow. I know not, but good. Whatever the huntsman did is good. And then she reaches into the tiles. I think this will be the illuminating tile. And she pulls it out and sets it down and looks at it. And it's a gold piece. It's a single gold coin. And she sort of flicks at it. And it like sort of rolls over. And you can see it. And it is a gold coin from the city of Surat.
I do not recognize this coin.
This coin comes from the city where all gold flows.
Does this mean he is alive?
I believe so. I think he is not dead. Death almost claimed him, but not quite.
I thank you for this reading.
You're welcome.
That he gets up and kind of just storms out of there, trying to do it without knocking anything over and making a fool of himself.
Yep.
And he just runs out, goes and just sits amongst the goats. Remind him of home.
All right. So for everyone else, the rest of the evening passes quite eventfully. People are... Yes, Grog.
Grog wants to talk to Helga.
Yes?
Wow, chicka wow wow.
I'm going to say, Helga, I have made another sketch.
Oh, really?
And I was wondering if you'd like to see my sketch to help me refine what these beasties may look like that we'll be encountering.
Of course.
Is this closer?
It looks like a deranged bunny rabbit.
Well, perhaps you could help me learn more about these somewhere. Quiet her.
Well. In that case, since you are on your way to becoming a proper man, perhaps it is only fitting.
All right. Rod.
What?
Stay put.
She's a screamer!
So the evening passes, eventfully or uneventfully, as you choose.
So, just to points out as Conry, after watching the reading, goes and just gets blackout drunk, but makes a habit of staying next to Kamali the whole time. It's almost like just she crosses over the hall, he crosses over with her. But he's completely drunk the whole time, just blackout.
I should watch over him.
Rod works the room basically, telling news stories to every single person that will listen to him until he would eventually probably also pass out.
Make an insight check with disadvantage for drunkenness.
Reading the room.
13.
All right. Yeah. You sort of instinctively know that they're kind of just like humoring you.
No, he's used to that.
Yeah.
He just wants somebody to listen.
Yeah, but they're pretty polite.
Times I rolled to see if maybe I wanted to play some music, and both times I got a nat one.
Oh, right. Yes, you tried your pipes, but it was not going very well.
No, I quit both times.
At one point in the night, Conry leans over to Kamali and says, "Hey, I bet you 3 shots, whatever your food you throw in the air."
All right.
This kind of just like 2 drinks before he's passing out. So seeing triple at this point.
She'll fetch out some rations, an apple or something. Ready? That's it.
Make your attack roll with disadvantage because you're drunk.
Oh yeah. I'll do. No, I won't do sharpshoots actually. 15 plus 8 is 23.
Oh yeah, you're like even in your drunken state, you're just like, poof.
You should shove as well as you can shoot.
Should I keep rolling for the other 2?
Yeah.
Pretty good again actually. 17.
Okay.
And the final one is 17 again.
All right. Yeah, you're just like, poof, poof, poof.
I have a plus 8, so
Yeah, there's like a couple. There's a couple of arrows like nailed to the rafter, or like apples nailed to the rafters by arrows.
There's shots of those.
you just so it's just I win and this passes out.
All right. So, several weeks later, you have traveled across the Varangian Highlands. You're cresting a last hill. For the last, like several weeks, you've seen growing ever larger this like mountain range north of you that sort of heads generally like in a north-south direction. But still, you can see these mountains continuously growing on the horizon. And then you cross over, this last set of hills, and there's a floodplain sort of before you where it's rivers, but it's really like glacial snowmelt that comes off of the Iron Mountains that washes in through these basically like spring streams that wash all of this iron containing sand down into these deposits at the bottom of the mountains. And so when
red.
What's that?
That would just look like blood, wouldn't it?
No, it some would because it oxidizes. But this is like the black sand beaches in parts of Japan. And other places, but where they harvest this magnetite containing sand. So yeah, probably some of it does oxidize and kind of rust, but it's already this magnetite. So yeah, it's like this black and red like mottled landscape.
Nice.
So in it, it's barren. There's like no real plants growing on the floodplain. You can see bits and pieces poking up, but they sort of get overwhelmed by the sand as it washes out. And you can see a herd of these immense beasts just like lumbering across. They're easily, these are bigger, if we compared them to real world animals, they're like way bigger than, they're like sort of elephant sized. So they compete with sort of like mammoths and things like that, which you've seen one or two as you were traveling across the Varangian Highlands. So they're just these immense large creatures. And they're stocky, four-legged, like giant barrels on legs. Their heads have this like frill, like this bone plate that rises from the back of the skull, sort of like a triceratops. And there's like a couple of curving horns that come out and one from their snout, sort of, again, similar to a triceratops, but they also have these large tusks that curl out of their bottom lip and curl around. Their hide is black, but interrupted here or there with like patches of red, where this natural iron has been incorporated, but then in some places it oxidizes and rusts. And you can see that there's a lot of like little spiky protrusions kind of all over their body as well. And they have these like long tails they sweep behind them. And they kind of just like shuffle across the landscape and like open their jaw and like, trough up, like a front end loader, this sand that they then just like swallow down into their gullets and like rock and all of that. And they're just lumbering along doing that. There's probably a couple of dozen in this big herd, but some of them group out into like little pockets and things like that.
Usually we should be careful.
Should have brought a bigger warband.
I think the dwarf should charge, and we see what happens.
Good luck with that. You guys got your hands full. I'm going to be over there. And if you need me, just don't need me. I'll be over there.
It's like he doesn't want to prove himself to us.
Oh, I don't need to prove myself against some monster.
Sounds like a coward. We don't need him. Let him go, find a pillow, lay down, be lazy, grow fat.
What was it I heard back there? It was don't interfere in the blood hunt. Yeah, pretty sure that's what it was. Yep, I'll be over there. You just let me know when you're ready to go.
If you leave now, you're not coming back with us.
Well, I can just go on down the road. I know some people. It'll be okay. I'll watch though. If you guys need dragged out of there, if it's convenient, I'll pull you out.
You'll get the share of the hide. To take back to your people.
Well, my people don't particularly want to see me, but
If you want to buy your way back into your clan, this might be the way to do it.
Or into our clan.
We'll see if it comes to that.
All right, let's leave the coward. Now we need to plan like wolves. We need to get them separated.
How do we do that?
But I guess if we don't have the dwarf to go running in as plan A, we should circle, shouldn't we? I've got the survival. That's why I'm doing this. My intelligence is low, but I've got the survival.
They have a pretty good survival. Muselit's are terrible at tactics.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if we send in the fastest runner to separate two off.
I'm good at herding goats.
I could say that.
Make a someone can make a nature check.
Not me.
I'll give that a try.
Yeah.
2 + 6, 21.
Okay, so
Nice.
you notice that while it's a big herd, they do tend to sort of cluster in pairs, with the adults, and then you'll occasionally see obviously young that are with like a pair. So given the information that was given to you, you think, they sort of, while they have this big herd, within the herd are these bonded pairs.
Let us not take parents from their young. This is a blood hunt. We are to prove ourselves. Let's find the 2 biggest and go get them.
Let's find the 2 that won't alert the rest of the herd.
Do we see 2 by themselves that don't have kids?
Make a investigation check.
11.
There's there's a couple of pockets of ones that are sort of a little bit away from the main body of the herd. And yeah, not all of them have young with them.
My question is, if we are spotted attacking 2, will the rest of the herd join, or will they keep their distance?
What's
my fear.
the surrounding land like?
It's pretty flat, but like it's not like I'm not saying like you're looking across like a prairie, right? It's like a little bit of floodplain sort of in between these foothills and the mountains themselves. So it's maybe, half a mile or so. It's relatively flat.
Would I have an idea of, if I was to try and hide, essentially, would there be pockets where I'd be able to do that?
It looks relatively it depends. If you were trying to lay down, you could probably find, one of these places where water has gone through. There's some boulders that you could maybe duck behind. There's not a lot of there's no little hills where you could poke over the crest, short of where you are now. But there's some boulders and things like that.
I could try taking a shot at one of these pairs, see how they react.
We should all find a place to hide then. But then what is the plan if it draws their attention here?
Run like fucking hope that we survive.
If it's only 2.
Brilliant.
How far away did you say they were from us?
The closest one is probably let's see, 1,000 feet or something.
Okay. I have a range of 600, so.
We'll have to get closer.
So you said there are foothills, right?
You're in sort of some foothills now, yeah. And then it's this flatter area and then the mountain.
Okay.
What if we take our normal battle tactic that we use in the Highlands and scream and yell and run at them, and hopefully some separate?
You
And
first,
the rest-
brother.
And the rest.
I am not smart, but I am not stupid.
See, I am smart, but I am not wise.
That is why I came with you, to make up for your shortcomings.
Do I think that if I tried to herd them, that I don't even know how.
Yeah, they're elephant-sized, or but they're a bit smaller than elephants, but they're massive, right?
They probably wouldn't care.
Or they'd just trample you.
Yeah.
We should check along the rim, see if we can find any in an isolated pocket. Perhaps, I don't know if they seek privacy, but maybe they found a place to get water away from the rest of the herd.
Or privacy.
Privacy, those animals do that. Even you don't do that.
Yeah, we all heard it.
Are there any places we could push them over a cliff?
There is not.
Or down a hill even?
You're on the hill and they're in the flat area right between mountain and foothills.
All right.
So the mighty warriors got this far. Now they want to go cow tipping.
I'd say we circle for a bit and see if we can find an advantageous position.
I say we throw the dwarf at them and see what they do.
Well, we can find an advantageous position, then throw the dwarf at them.
Okay.
But then Connery can pull his, as long as we just need to find a spot with better hiding area. See if we can find the most isolated, and then he can attack the most isolated and give us enough room to run for our lives.
Back with the tribe, my longest range was give or take 600 feet. We have distance.
We'll have distance. We should find it advantageous for all of us. It would not do well if they saw us and not you, and then charged at the rest of us.
Esteban, someone starts whispering in your ear.
Pardon, one moment. Yes.
You were supposed to prove yourselves as warriors. Running away doesn't do that. You must all participate in the kill.
We'll participate in the kill. And you guys can all hear this. We will participate in the kill, but it is no sense getting ourselves killed on the spot. We are merely testing the water. It is not cowardly to pull your foot out of a cold stream and find a warmer area.
Oh, no, but you just keep talking about running away. You came all this way. You can't run away.
Then we will continue to look until we can find a spot where running away will not be necessary. These animals will die this night. But we do not wish to die, and I do not wish to lose them. It'd be harder to carry back. Though I suppose if Connery doesn't make it, it's not like he'll be helping. Sorry, Connery.
None of you see who he is talking to.
Well, you could at least get closer.
We should spend a part of the day scouting.
All right.
I will be the one they will be attacking. That part I know for sure. And a place for Connery to be in an advantageous position to be able to strike them where they cannot reach him would be for the best. There are no trees. There are no high grounds.
But I have my distance.
You have the distance.
It would take them a good time to cover, in which I can get off a good few shots.
Yes. So we'll find a spot, you stay back, and just watch the show. And try not to hit us.
That would be easy enough.
And, go ahead.
Are all the herd headed in the same direction?
They're kind of just like milling around. Like they're just staying in this area. They're not traveling in a particular direction.
Okay. Should we circle?
I believe we should circle to find the ones that are furthest from the herd.
Okay.
And Rod, you can stay with Connery if you wish to observe.
One thing I can offer is I do have my particular music talents if you would desire such a distraction.
I draw my dagger and point at him. No more of that noise.
Unless he does it a kilometer that way.
Just offering.
Okay. Let's start circling.
All right.
Yep.
Make a survival check.
Right.
Two that look. That is dirty 20.
All right. So, so you lead the way, kind of circling around. And you're like sticking to the hill line. You get to an area where about like as you creep over this hill line, there's an area where some of this like sand has pooled and there's like a small depression and a bit of like a watering hole essentially. And there is a pair here, like sort of wallowing around in the mud, and like scooping up, water and sand and eating it. And it's like the closest is they're like 300 feet.
Oh.
This is our place.
I I do
Okay.
believe I could strike from here.
I am all for that.
We should get close before he starts the fire.
Mhm.
Wait. Grog will circle around in case they run.
Good idea. We should fan to catch them in a net.
Yep.
We'll separate from
60 feet apart.
Esteban and come in three.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'll stay 60 feet from Grog.
We'll go with the 4 points of the compass.
Well, you can't do 4.
No.
The most you could get is like almost 3.
Kind of a semicircle if we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
right.
like one end of it would be just like onto this floodplain, right? So,
All right.
I mean, you can do 4, but you're going to be standing on the middle of the floodplain between them and the rest of the herd.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you want to, cool, totally, do it.
No.
Right.
All right.
We'll walk 100 feet and then Conry, maybe you begin.
I'm going to try to stealth up. 14.
Okay.
I'm in dodge mode.
Yep. So you're creeping around. Esteban and Grog are just walking around. One of them like lifts its head and is like watching, like tracking you as you move around the hills. Not particularly stealthily. And you get around sort of the northern end, and you see that there is like a younger yarn scrim that was like in behind them on the other side of the water hole.
Oh, crap. It's got a baby. We didn't want one with a baby.
Give the father leave the mother.
How far away from me would Grog be?
He's probably a little bit away, Connery, because they were circling around to the other side. So probably like by the time they get around there, they're going to be, it's like 300 feet to them. So probably close to another 300 feet. So like 600 feet away.
I'm just preparing to fire the arrow at the first sign to do so. Then
yeah,
I have no idea.
Yeah, and you just see them like kind of circling around to the other side, moving towards their position. So you guys see the young.
I'm still going to try and keep like between. So if they do decide to charge Conry, I want to be able to intercept.
I thought you were staying close to Grog.
I'm trying to stay close to Grog, but also at the same time, I'm kind of just moving on a diagonal between the two.
They're going to be on, like, Grog was circling around, so they're going to be on totally opposite sides of each other.
Okay, I didn't want to be on the opposite side because I wanted to be. I thought we were going to kind of just semicircle them, but not completely opposite side.
Well, yeah, it's not necessarily complete. My point is, it's going to be far away.
I figure they're going to charge Conry, so I'm trying to stay between Conry and them. So,
which really means like staying next to Conry, right? It's a line of hills, so if you get between them, you would be like walking down into the water hole, essentially.
Oh, okay. So, okay, I'll stick. I'll go closer to Grog then. I didn't know that part. Okay.
Well,
so,
so just imagine.
I can see the baby.
There is the floodplain.
Yep.
There's a little bubble with some hills.
Okay.
Not quite 3/4, right? But like a almost semicircle of hills. You guys came. So Conry's on one side. They're in the middle. Grog had said he's going around to the other side.
Okay, walking around the hills. The other side. Okay. Yep. I'm just going to say I'm going to stick with close to Grog, like 60 feet from Grog, and I'll go wherever he goes.
Okay.
So sees the baby. I see the baby.
Where
Everyone who's moving in sees the baby.
It depends on where they're going.
So if Grog saw the baby, I'd probably see the baby.
Right.
We We only need one. And a mother can provide. I don't know how these babies survive. Does it look like it's eating the sands?
Yep.
Okay. It's probably self-sufficient, but we should leave it alive.
Trying to get in closer. How much do I? I'm not.
So really, like, closer would literally mean like leaving the hills and going down onto like the flat area. So you would be getting really close, right? Like closer than 300 feet. Or you can go around. They were circling around.
Okay.
So are you going, like, so you can go wherever you want. I just,
I want to go down. So long as I feel like I'm being stealthy.
Okay.
I do want to get closer to them.
Okay. Make a stealth check.
Okay. Do 19.
Okay. So like you pick your way down the slope, and you're kind of like going from sort of where there's some boulders and things like that. You get to within about 100 feet. So you're down at the bottom of the hill. It's like leveled off, and you can see the two sort of creatures like in front of you.
Cool. And then I will leave, I suppose.
Conry's too far away to really be able to see any signal I try and send him.
600 feet's not that far.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking it's more he was watching you all walk, and as soon as you seemed to be in position, that was his signal, essentially.
I'm gonna wave, and I'm gonna just pump my fist once, twice, and then just a half pump, and hope he understands that that's the signal. That's the more of a signal for how many creatures there are.
I'll make an intelligence check.
Yeah, I'm leaving that up to you.
I think he's ready to rock.
That's 18, so
You probably figured that that's what he's signaling.
I assume
yeah.
it's probably a
Figure
signal
we've
from-
hunted before together.
Yeah. I'll hold them. I won't fire just yet. Wait, just
All right.
I'll say to Grog, the baby would be sufficient, and if we leave it alive, the herd may adopt it.
Let's take the biggest one first and see what happens.
The mother may stay to protect the young, or I don't know from looking at them if the father is the large or the small.
Probably the large, if it's a normal animal.
Make a nature check.
Oh.
can I make
16.
a check as well?
16.
Yes, although yours is going to be like independent of their knowledge, right? So
Yeah, that's the idea. My nature would be 22.
Okay.
Whew.
So 16 and 22. Yeah, I mean, you both think that bigger is reasonable for the male.
Okay.
All right.
How do we start this party?
Charge! Grog's going to run down the hill.
As soon as he runs, I bring Yarrow up, whisper, behave
Glory!
once more, and fire a shot.
All right. Well, roll initiative because like they've been watching you moving around the hills, so they're not caught by surprise at all.
That's nice.
Okay. Rod.
10.
Whopping 10. Grog.
Whopping 10.
17.
All right. Conry.
20.
Camille.
6.
All right. Esteban.
22.
22. All right, so Esteban, you are first.
Okay, I'm rushing down. Seeing that Grog has started bolting, I'm going to run. And how close do we get to them? Am I close enough to fire off a javelin?
With disadvantage.
Disadvantage. Okay. Ooh. Well, disadvantage. Darn, one of those was a natural 20. The other one was 15, so it's a dirty 20.
Okay, so it does hit.
Okay. Javelin, and that's a 5 plus 3, so 8 damage. And the ghost is now hovering around this guy.
Okay. Connery.
I'm going for the bigger one, the suspected male.
Yeah.
And firing with a grasping arrow again.
Okay.
Natural 20.
All right.
Woo! So the 10 points of piercing damage.
Okay.
And 16 poison.
16?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's 2d6, 2d6 poison. So with the natural 20.
Oh,
46.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So, and again, speed reduced by 10. And if it moves, it takes 2d6 slashing.
Okay. Grog.
Grog's as he running, fire his heavy crossbow at the thing.
Okay.
Six.
Like, goes wide. All right, so the smaller one bellows and moves around and sort of lumbers around, running to interpose herself between the young and the people who are charging in, who are on sort of the same side. So she charges in and interposes herself, but there's people running at her. And so she had seen the javelin go across, and so she gets in between and just lowers her head and charges at Esteban. All right. And she's so enraged that she runs by and goes to swipe, but skids on sort of the sand and slides a bit past him as the sand pelts up against you.
His upbringing of being around goats, he's learned to avoid getting rammed.
But as she slides by, she kind of opens her jaw and tries to snap a bite. Ooh. And that's going to be a 26 to hit.
I think so. Let me check. Okay, yep, that's a hit.
For 14 points of piercing damage.
Damn, and I'm not raging.
And she just chomps. Rod.
So Rod's kind of actually in shock that they have actually done this. He didn't think they were going to do it.
Yeah, so you see what you think is probably the female has charged towards Esteban and Grog, and then the big male's been hit a couple of times, and he's swinging his head back and forth because he's been hit from both sides, but he's got this vines have sprouted around him where he was hit with the arrow.
How far is he?
300 feet.
Okay, so it's going to take him rounds to get there.
Yeah, he's going to have to...
His max speed is 25, so even dashing, it's going to take him 6 rounds to get there. So he kind of uses half his round. Okay, and he starts running, but...
Presumably it's also going to then be charging towards you, so...
We'll see, yeah.
It'll be getting closer.
Yeah.
Camel.
Words of coward echoing in the back of his head.
You're 100 feet away, Camely.
Okay. Yeah, she's going to use, she's going to dash.
Okay.
Actually, I'm going to use, no, I'm not. I'm just going to dash.
Okay.
I will. I'm going to move 80 feet closer to it.
Okay. Yeah. So, you're running up into its face, essentially.
Yep.
So it can do what, a strength check to try and break off the
Athletics.
athletics? Okay. And
Yeah.
what's the DC?
It'll be 14, I believe. Yeah, 14.
All right. So yes, so it sort of bellows and like shakes, and you can see its muscles flex, and these vines like kind of stretch and then snap.
Okay.
And then it's going to use its movement to charge forward, and it won't be able to take an attack. The question is whether it runs by or not. Camely. And surprisingly,
If it's the big one, it has disadvantage on her.
yeah, it can attack her. It used its action, right, to do the athletics check. No, I was. Does it run by her or not? Right.
Okay.
Because there's a threat, but it is getting peppered with arrows. But then there is someone in its face. And it did surprisingly well, and it makes the smart decision, and it starts charging towards where the arrows are coming from, because it figures that is the bigger threat. So it uses its movement, runs by Camely, and is approaching the hill.
Do I get a reaction?
It has enough movement that it's like it doesn't run through your space. Yeah, doesn't provoke an attack of opportunity. Esteban.
All right. I start hearing the war song of my ancestors, which sounds very similar to the final countdown. And on the mother, I'm going to... Are we doing like it takes a bonus action to draw my weapon or an action to draw my sword? Or
No, that's to just draw is free.
Okay. So, yeah, I'll draw the great sword and take a swing on the mother who's on me right now.
Okay.
All right, and that is going to be +5. That's an 18.
All right. So, yes, that does hit.
Whew. Picturing these things being really tough. So, that is a 4, 3, and 5. So that's 13. Plus my strength. Never mind. That's a total of 10 damage with the great sword.
Okay.
Oh, +2 for my rage, so 12.
Okay.
And now that she's been attacked, she gets disadvantage on anyone who she attacks other than me for the next round.
Okay, and that effect disappears off of the...
Until the end of my next turn. Yeah, so it's a changes each turn thing.
Yeah. So I meant it disappears off the other one, right?
Yes.
Okay. Connery.
I'm just going to smile in glee at watching this beast charge towards me, and I'm taking a shot with sharpshooter.
Okay.
For natural 20 again.
All
Holy
right.
crap.
7, 14, 8, 28 points of damage.
All right. Ridiculous. All right, so yes, it hits, and it's like you see it sink deep in between a couple of these armored scales, and it just bellows in rage. Grog.
I mutter under my breath, "Come prove me before the ancestors."
All right. Grog.
Grog starts to sing the song of his ancestors, which sounds a lot like "Kiss My Irish Ass." And he's just going to whack the thing with his battle axe, the female that's beside him.
All right, so you just like throw down your crossbow and sort of pull out the battle axe.
Yeah, stupid thing anyways. 15 plus stuff, plus 6. Oh, good. 21.
Okay, yes, that hits.
1 die 8. 6 plus 6, 12.
All right, so yeah, your axe crashes in. There's like sparks that fly off a bit.
Was that raging?
I don't get to rage. I'm just a fighter.
Oh, sorry. My confusion.
All right. So she sort of bellows and like lowers her head and rips one of these horns towards Esteban. And that is an 18 to hit.
That is a hit.
That does 18 points of damage.
So 9.
All right. And then she opens her mouth and takes a chomp. And yes, that is 20 something.
That's more. Okay.
And that does 12.
Okay, 6.
All right. Rod.
How far away am I now?
I'm not 100% sure. Probably next round as it's like moving towards you.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
So keep on
So
going.
you keep running. Camille, it's running away from you.
No, I'm chasing it.
Yeah, you can definitely, like with your speed, you can like keep up to it and sort of be like harassing it from behind.
Yeah, I'm going to run up to it and try to whack it with my quarterstaff.
All right.
That is a 24 to hit.
That does hit.
Bam. For 9 damage.
All right.
And then I'm going to punch it.
I am constantly surprised in all my games, like characters end up with such ridiculous attack bonuses that even at level 3, they almost never get below like 18 on attack rolls. It is ridiculous. It is statistically improbable. You're all warping the space-time continuum.
That's a 12 to hit.
The 12 does not hit.
Just bruise my knuckles a little.
Yeah, it like cracks in. You're like, ah! Like it's literally like punching like a coat of armor.
Why did I think that was a good idea?
And so it sort of like as you're running alongside, like harrying it, it sort of just turns its head as it shifts its body a little bit to like whack you with the horn. Ooh, that's a 27 to hit.
Oh, gosh.
That does 14 points of piercing damage. And it goes to take a bite, and that is a 15 to hit.
My AC is 15.
Okay, so it just hits. That's another 10. As it sort of like, it whacks you and then opens its mouth and one of these tusks like rips into your side. Esteban.
All right. I know it's going to end my rage, but I'm going to disengage and do my movement to get 30 feet back and pull out my hand axes.
Okay.
And that ends my rage because I didn't take any damage and didn't hit anything.
Yep. All right. Conry.
How far away is this from me now?
Well, I mean, it's like just charging in. I mean,
Yeah.
is there anything particular for how close it is?
No, I just wanted to get an idea, just in my head.
It's not going to catch you in the next like round or two.
Okay. I'm gonna slowly start walking towards it then and take another sharpshooter,
Okay.
which misses entirely. 3.
All right. Yeah. So that's
Oh.
like
3 plus 2 technically.
Yep.
In the end.
no. So yeah, it just like whistles by it. Grog.
Well, Grog is going to shield, axe, smash.
All right.
15 again, plus 6 is 21.
Okay, that does.
And an 8, plus 6, so 14.
All right, so yeah, you bring it down, and there's sort of a bellow as your axe cleaves into it. So it she like this time like pivots away from Esteban and is going to attack you. That's an 18.
No.
To hit.
Miss, but a miss.
Okay.
It's 19.
All right. And then opens her mouth. And no, that definitely won't hit. So you're like kind of ducking out of the way as it like chomps. You probably like just get your shield in, sort of like clamps her mouth on top, shaking it around.
It missed me by that much.
Yeah. Rod.
So he's close enough now? He's going to make... Okay.
Yeah,
I can't believe I'm doing this.
You use your movement, but you'll still have your attack.
You can double drop.
So he starts screaming and he rages, and he's so lost in the moment, he reckless attacks.
All right.
Oh. Thank goodness for the reckless attack. 27. I get 29.
Yeah, that hits.
Oh, sorry, no, 27. 27 total.
Yeah, that hits.
But it was a 4 on the first roll. No, 5 points of damage.
All that running for that.
Did you punch it? Is that what you were doing?
No, it was a great club, but I did the D8 and I rolled a 1.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you roll up, it's like, whack. And it sort of just like hits it on the face. Kimberly.
She's going to she's gonna try to hit it again.
Okay.
That is 24 to hit
Yep.
for 7 damage,
Okay.
and then a 17 to hit
That does hit as well.
for 8 damage. And then she's going to stop running, and it continues, hopefully be 10 feet away as it's going the other direction because she's really hurt.
All right. So as it continues its sort of movement,
And is it gonna, if it, I want to spend a key to disengage if it's going to come after me. Does it look like it's coming after me? But I can't.
Yeah, it could go either way between you and Rod.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend a key point to disengage.
Okay. Yeah. So you sort of like kind of flip out of the way.
That.
All right. Which leads Rod.
Oh man!
Sorry, Pam.
So that is an 18 to hit.
And it's got advantage because I reckless attacked. But yeah, 18 hits.
Oh shit! In case I get a 20. No, I didn't. But it hits you with its trampling charge because it has been running like 20 feet at least, right? Which is the criteria.
Uh-huh.
So it lowers its horn as you like whacked it, and it just like poof smashes into you. So that is
106.
no. 11 points of damage from the horn.
Okay.
I need you to make a strength saving throw.
Yay, rage.
16.
All right. So you manage to just barely avoid being knocked prone underneath it. So it does not get to stomp you as it goes by. But he is biting. And that's a 18.
Yep.
To hit. For 9 more points.
Okay.
All right.
I've had worse.
So we're back around to Esteban.
All right, I'm going to not bother raging because this ain't melee. I'm going to throw both axes using my bonus dual wielding.
Okay.
I know I don't get so I don't get my strength check on the offhand.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. First axe going in for 11 plus 5, 16.
16 does hit.
Does. Okay. So hand axe. The first one, total of 7 damage.
Okay.
Second one going in natural 20.
All right.
Ooh.
This one doesn't get my strength bonus, but 5 and a 5. So 10.
10. All right. So your 2 hand axes are like thump, thump, as they hit into it.
And now she's at disadvantage against Grog.
Okay. Connery.
At the risk of being repetitive, sharpshooter once more,
Okay.
which is was a 14 to hit.
14 misses.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you fire and it like sort of like hits on sort of this frill and ricochets off.
Okay.
And it's definitely getting closer to you.
Okay.
Grog. Like next
Gonna be
round,
bellowing
it'll
out.
probably get to you.
Okay then.
He's going to be bellowing out, "Kiss my raven ass,"
Yeah.
and roll a mighty 10 plus 6, 16.
16 hits. Oh,
He freeze?
I think Chris froze. All right, we'll wait to catch up to him on that and apply the damage. But so she's mad. But then the question is who does she attack? Because she can sense this like spirit harrowing, and she's relatively intelligent. So she swings around and charges at Esteban.
He would get an attack of opportunity.
Yeah, he will when he's unfrozen. It won't matter, but like as in it wouldn't kill her.
No.
So that's an 18 to hit.
He's dead. No. Yeah, that definitely hits.
Okay. So that is 11.
11 damage.
Yep, 11 points of damage.
All right. He kind of just drops, but manages to keep his breath.
Okay, I need you to make a strength saving throw. She hit you with a full-on charge.
That is a 17.
Okay, so you don't go down, but she is going to bite. 16 to hit.
And now I'm rolling death saves.
All right.
Yep.
Yep, so she does whatever damage, and yeah, it puts you down and unconscious. So we'll catch
She is not going to leave me alone.
So we'll catch. Well, it depends on what Grog does next turn. Rod, what are you doing? As like it sort of like hit you and then is like charging by.
I don't suppose I can keep up with it for very long.
I mean, it's close enough. You could.
Okay. Yeah, so try and take a whack at it as it's going by the side.
Okay.
Yeah, smack it in the butt.
All right.
And what the heck? That's reckless attack again. Because that's what he would do. And I get to add that. So that is 22.
22. All right, there we go. I think Chris is back. Yes. Yes, a 22 hits.
Ha. And 8 damage.
All right.
I'm back, but I have no light, so I'm very dark now.
All right, so what was your damage on the attack?
8?
No, Grog.
Oh, no, him, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I get your 8.
5 plus 6, so 11.
11. Okay, and you also got attack of opportunity as it like left your space and then went and knocked Esteban unconscious.
Attack of opportunity. 12 plus 6, so 18, which I know hits.
That does.
So 7 plus 6, so 13.
Okay. All right. So yes, Rod, you're like harassing it more. Camille.
I want to head towards Esteban.
Okay.
How far can I get to him in 40 feet?
No. But if you dash, you would then be at him like next round.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
Big Mama's on me. Big Mama's on me. So
Well, let me get close enough that I can get close enough next round.
Yeah.
I want to get 40 feet away.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So the big male sort of like spins around a little bit and takes another whack at Rod. Ooh, that's a natural 1 as it like whiffs by on the horn attack. But follows up with
Come at me.
Follows up, and on the bite I roll a 2.
You got
just
nothing.
Snaps. Yes.
You great lumbering beast.
Esteban.
all right. That's a 10 on the dice.
All right, so that's 1 success. All right, Connery, and yes, this will get to you and be able to attack you next round.
I'll do sharpshooter again.
Okay.
16.
16 just hits.
Okay. So that would be 19 points of damage.
Okay. All right. I mean, like, they're both looking quite wounded at this point. You can see, like, blood leaking and sort of their hide getting tattered. Grog.
Oh,
Big Mama is,
stupid
like,
beastie.
standing over top of an unconscious Esteban.
But Esteban looked like he's not bleeding to death thus far.
Well, he looks
Yeah,
in
hard
not
to say.
great shape.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. You got that? I'm just gonna whack it.
Okay.
12 plus 6, 18.
That hits.
Plus 6 plus 6, so 12.
All right. All right. Big Mama's turn. What does she do? She's got to make a decision here. Ooh. Yep, so she ends up going for Grog. That is a 23 to hit.
Oui.
And that does 15 points of piercing damage.
All right. 1 second. Grog's going to use his stone's endurance and say, screw you.
And stay standing.
Yeah.
And
So that's 6 plus his comp bonus. So he gets 9 points reduced from that.
Okay.
So that would be 4 damage.
Yes.
Right?
No.
Right.
6.
Okay. 6 damage.
6.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
All right. And then she bites and misses.
Phew.
Rod.
What would you give me for damage on an improvised attack using a thrown symbol?
Your
Like a shock rub.
your general unarmed improvised that your thing gives you. I think is it like
So
D4 or
It says it if it resembles another weapon, so then you use that damage.
oh okay.
I don't know if you think it would resemble another weapon or not.
Let's give it a D6.
Okay, so he's getting tired chasing this thing, so he pulls out one of his symbols and whips it at its butt.
Do this in Yolalations.
Natural 20!
Death by symbol, please.
Excellent.
Oh my gosh! 19 points of damage! Please be dead.
So as this big male is like charging and it's like and like Connery, like you can like feel the ground rumbling as it's like charging you dead on. All of a sudden there's like a and it like kind of ends up toppling over and like sliding past you on the dirt, and you can just see this like symbol embedded into its ass.
That's awesome.
You're gonna have to clean that for me.
Camely.
Okay, she's gonna run over to Esteban.
Yep.
And touch him and use a key point to give him 2 HP.
All right. So
Oh,
Esteban is conscious with 2 hit points.
Woo!
And then, do I have any room to move back?
Yep.
I would.
You could
I
tuck
would
and roll out of the way.
I would love to do that.
Okay. Esteban, you're laying flat on your back. Big Mama's like stomping around kind of over top of you.
All right. Crap. I guess I got nothing else to do. Grab my greatsword, rise to my feet, and as I do a big upward swing, both hands trying for her neck.
All right.
Greatsword. And that is a 17.
That hits.
Woo! So it's 2 6. 6 and a 1, and my 3. So I've got total of 10 damage.
All right. She like bellows as it like rakes across, and there's a spray of blood. Connery.
Would you say the mother is within 600 feet?
Oh yeah.
No. I'm just going to rear back and take a shot at her then,
All right.
which is 18 to hit.
That does hit.
Since this time it's without sharpshooter. That does 7 points of damage.
Okay.
And I'm going to use my action surge
Okay.
and take an additional action.
Okay.
So take another shot, and this time I'm using Vanishing Arrow.
Okay.
So that's 21 to hit.
Yep.
With 12 points of damage, and
Okay.
it has to make a charisma saving throw. On a fail, it's transported to a harmless location in the Feywild and is restrained and held there until the end of its next turn.
All right. And what's your DC?
14.
All right. Boo-doo-doo. And it just succeeds. Just barely.
Okay.
All right. Grog.
Grog is going to swing, going to use his action surge for 2 attacks.
Okay.
Got a 9 plus 6 for 15 and a 12 plus 6 for 18.
So the 18 hits.
18 hits, all right. For 6 plus 6, 12.
All right. So she rears around. And definitely does not hit. It definitely does not hit as I roll 2 ones in a row. Rod, you're sort of like a bit far away from them.
So Rod has this moment of, unbelievable that worked. And then he turns around, sees this other one still fighting. He's like, oh my God. He starts running back across the field that way.
All right, Camely.
She is going to dash back in, not dash, but she's going to move in and try to hit it.
Okay.
It's right there, basically.
Yep.
All right. Quarterstaff it. That is a 17 to quarterstaff.
Oh yeah, that hits.
Yes. For 7 damage.
Okay.
She's going to try to punch it. And that is a 15 to punch.
And the 15 doesn't hit.
Dang it. All right, and then I'm going to use a key point to disengage.
Okay. Esteban.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to keep my ancestral spirit on this creature. Nothing else to do. Take another great sword swing. That one's only going to come in at a 14.
And so a 14 does not hit.
And yeah, I don't think I have any bonus actions. I'm going to go into my rage again.
Okay.
Should have done that before, but
yeah,
too late.
Yeah, it skitters off of the plate, and you're just like, ugh! Connery.
My rage is calm.
Yeah.
I'll do this with sharpshooter. Why not?
Okay.
Which is 23 to hit.
Yeah, that hits.
So that's 19 points of damage.
All right. So this time you just draw like a dead eye, and your arrow is just like woof, whack, right into the eye. So just as it was like rearing up to like lash out at either Esteban or Grog again, it suddenly just kind of like rears aside and falls over.
I just looked at it, he's like 600 feet away. Just leans back, takes a shot, and gets it dead in the eye.
Yeah.
Just look the cinematic of that.
Well, it was a
Esteban
shot.
Yeah.
Esteban drops his sword and just goes over and gives Kamale a big kiss on the forehead.
Yeah, you're welcome.
He just kind of falls to his knees and just stares at the creature, and then looks at the baby.
The baby at this point is like hightailing it away towards the herd.
Okay. I look over my left shoulder and go, brave enough for you?
Rod sees the mother go down and goes, "Oh, thank God," and falls to the ground and just lays in the mud.
Yeah, I'm at 1. It was at 15, and I gave Esteban 2 of mine.
All right.
As Conry wanders over, he kind of stretches slightly and goes, "That was boring. I did not even get blooded once."
I smear some of the blood from my face all over his hair.
Seems a bit happy, actually.
All right. So over time, you would sort of had been given some instructions and like ritually sort of butcher the carcasses and, skin them for the scales, which will make basically like scale mail armor, and harvest like the horns and some of the longer, it's like some of the bone, which ends up being quite a load to haul back. But you're, able to do so given sort of sufficient time, and it's all part of the journey. But you eventually arrive back at your tribe's encampment with your booty, and while you have been gone, so it's now been sort of like 2 months, and when you come back, there had been a attack recently. Some of the merchants and mining interests had been moving in, and your tribe had sent out a warband, which didn't return. They were presumably defeated in the battle, and you're not sure if they were taken prisoner or not. But there was a group of mercenaries who had also made a sort of retaliatory strike. They eventually had been fought off, but there was pretty significant losses for your tribe. But everyone is elated when you return. You're the first to have accomplished this in like 10 generations. The matron is still alive, and with the guidance of the ancestral spirits, and Esteban, you can sort of feel this as well, as your spirit is sort of feeling very connected to the ancestral spirits of the tribe in general. With their guidance, the smiths and craftsmen of the tribe are able, and you presumably had just got also brought back some knowledge from the Thyrs who you had visited as well about how to sort of complete these ritual forgings, which involves partially carving and crafting this bone, but then also forging it because it has this like steel content in it, in the bone and horn, to make these weapons and armor. And you all end up sort of fortifying yourself with your chosen weapons and armor of choice, outfitted from these beasts. And Rod, you are given a particular honorary status among the tribe. And so they actually bequeath upon you a club made from the long bones of one of these creatures.
Sweet.
Would you like tribal tattoo?
Well, it means I'd have to drop my pants again.
Yes, it does traditionally go on the butt.
And actually some tattooing would be totally appropriate. Your tribe engages in this, but you definitely saw like very elaborate tattoos among the Thyrs. I'd sort of forgot to mention it, but Grog, you especially got some real good upfront overview of some very extensive tattooing, and a fair amount of like ritual scarring as well.
I'm more into the tattooing.
I would have liked to have made a stop at the Thyrs camp and got the scars from the battle actually filled with the inks. So my scars are now my tattoos.
Yeah.
Like
There
that.
you go.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Yeah.
Thanks, Dan.
Sorry.
Thanks, Dan.
Have a good night, Sam.
No, just like
Good morning.
Carney was going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say over the journey, after it, Conry presents Esteban. Sorry, name went out my head for a moment. Esteban with a wood carving of the reading.
Oh, yeah.
Thank
So
you.
it's got the wood carving tools.
Yeah.
So he would have essentially transcribed it.
Yeah, sort of
So it
like
would
on
be
a
the
single
tree,
stick
the
kind of
raven.
thing with the...
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Oh, that's
Nice.
cool. Yeah.
I thank you. And he rubs it in and kind of dreads it in with his hair. So it'll always be kind of dangling next to his face, right where he talks to his ancestors through. This,
I'm glad you find meaning in it.
well, perhaps we will find more battle together in the future.
Yes, perhaps this time I shall own a scar. One of yours, perhaps.
Stay closer next time. I'm sure you'll get one.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. That is our one shot, although no one is actually watching. But anyway. Thanks, everybody.
That was fun.
That was a lot of fun.